This guy the biggest grifter in the world, bro. Actually, get the fuck out of here. It's actually crazy. Oh my god. I just remember
He has been paid so much across his career.
Actually, just like the king of securing the bag for the most lukewarm performances in history.
He would knock on my door almost daily with some sort of like life problem that he hadn't yet figured out at the age of like 22. And it would just be like, how do I open this door? And I'm like, you twist the handle and you pull it.
Paddy was a good player in matches and the worst player in the entire universe in scrims, you know? Like different to Reiner. You know, Reiner had like a pretty solid baseline. He just wouldn't really give it his all until it was match time because he didn't believe in the concepts of review or practice. Paddy was different, where it was like, I mean, there's layers to that too, you know, because everyone in Overwatch League, not just on their girlfriends, but everyone just cheats perma in Overwatch League too, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I can't think of a single match in the past 4 years where both teams haven't known what the other guys are doing. Like
I remember going to Fusion and 9K adamantly being against VOD leaking and sharing and stuff, and we were just like, we'll do it anyway.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 5 of Uncoachable. Last week, we did something nice for Unter. We got on a guest who made him look better, if anything, and really took a lot of the flack and a lot of the stick, especially on Reddit for him. Now, we're going to go back to our normal format, where our guest will surely, once and for all, finally expose Unter. We have FunnyAstro. You might recognise him from Team UK, from Eleague Gladiators. He's the guy who's always smug after we lose. Welcome, Daniel.
I love losing. Losing is great.
Yeah, so here's what we need to... This is like a disclaimer for you, Daniel, before we start. So last week we had Gator in, and this was an unbelievably successful episode. As of recording, it's been out for a day. It's already breaking record viewerships. The time to libs of TikTok mention has never been shorter. It's like, actually, that's the ratio of success. And that's how you know the video does well, because that's how long it takes for someone to mention libs of TikTok in the comment section below. But what Gator did was he burned every bridge humanly imaginable.
Ooh.
And unfortunately,
he did burn all the bridges
coach,
with Koreans.
He burnt the bridge with all his teammates. That big bridge from America to Korea just set it alight. Like, I heard that Joe Biden, the Korean president, they don't talk anymore after this Gator episode. Like, it's gotten so bad. But what that means is this: as a coach, as a person, I only want to say improvement, which means that between you and Max, who's also going to help in this, you guys are going to have to. There can't be a bridge left in your house. If you're still with your girlfriend at the end of this podcast, you haven't tried hard enough to give us the clicks and the views, okay? So that's what we need from you. Before any funny games, before any serious, just keep that in mind. Who can I burn this bridge with? And then we'll have a wonderful time.
I got some bridges to burn.
That's what I like to hear.
Gladiators are going down.
Maybe a good bridge to burn before we get into the more significant bridges. It's always good to build your way up when burning bridges. So let's start with Team UK in the World Cup and burn some of those bridges.
Nice.
So
we got fucking coach gapped so hard this year. Team UK.
I believe it.
Not
unbelievable.
That bridge. That's the bridge. We need that bridge. Keep that bridge open.
So it would be fair to say, I think we thought we would do okay in the World Cup. We thought probably wouldn't win it, but we could maybe get our way to a semi-final, maybe even squeak out a final performance. But that really didn't happen. We end up in this desperate situation where none of our comps work, and we go Orisa. Chris has obviously explained the coach's point of view on why we did this. What was your feeling as the person having to execute plan Orisa on match day?
People are just fucking dying, man. Like, an unreasonable amount of deaths that shouldn't have happened. And I genuinely think the comp is fine. I had no problem with the comp at all. I'm not burning that bridge, but
this bridge is so sturdy.
Can you burn bridges with all the people that died? Who was dying, right? Because I know you were one of them, obviously.
Yeah.
Reasonable death guy. But someone else.
Specifically, Jake Haru getting rocked. And there was nothing he could do about getting rocked on Orisa, actually. It was impossible. There was no counterplay. And then Lil Jamie was he was having a Genji performance of his life. That was a once-in-a-lifetime Midtown.
Aren't you on a team with Jamie now? You're ready to burn that bridge already? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Poor James. I guess you've got
He
clever on that
can't
thing too,
disagree
actually,
with
so
it.
you
He
can,
can't.
yeah, you can burn.
I did
The thing
press
is-
tab at the end of Midtown, and I seem to remember having the same damage as him.
Yeah, the thing is with at least like, this new evolved version of Jamie, he actually just kind of like fucking owns it now. He's like, yeah, I just had a stinker, you know, like there was no,
Yeah.
even if you brought him on the podcast right now, he'd say the same. I don't think it's I mean, you can actually still walk across that bridge if you want to. Maybe J Car is dead to you now, but
I think J. Cara was already dead to me. No, we already burned this bridge, Chris. I don't know if you remember when we walked to the Anaheim Convention Center. I already burned the bridge while at BlizzCon.
Yeah, before the game, the bridge was
Before,
dead.
yeah.
We really needed that bridge in theory.
we might have made a small mistake on that one.
Yeah, I think we were discussing who we wanted to get like our flash ops roster, and we were naming tanks, and we didn't name JK, which I believe hurt his.
Yeah, we were
his
discussing
feeling.
whether to get like Chase Torch or Hattie or Vestola for the EXO Flash Ops team, and it was just like
Poor
JK's
JK's name
just
never
stood
came
behind
in.
us, listening to the conversation. Like, why is my name not there?
So that was probably poor management of players
Yeah.
upon hindsight.
It wasn't the best time for the conversation.
Do you think that there's anyone?
I
Do
was
you think
just-
Chrissy could have put anyone on the roster other than
Tread.
JK? Well, other than Smex? Other than Smex?
Tread.
Yeah, maybe
Tread.
Tread.
I'm a
Player?
Treadhead.
on
Treadhead.
the tread?
Yeah. It didn't look that good in tryouts, but we scrimmed against him the other day. He's on the up, so maybe this. I know you're watching Treads. I reckon you got a good chance next year if you keep it up, mate. Okay. I apologize. Maybe shouldn't have picked Smex upon hindsight. I thought.
I think the Smex pick was fine. I think the Smex pick brought more value to the team than any other player in the situation would have, because we still would have played with JK if we had Tread on the roster, because we wouldn't have known what Tread could do.
You know, in my opinion was that Smex hadn't played in a while and still looked relatively competitive. I thought if he actually just plays the game, he might be okay. Unfortunately, what happened was after he got selected for Team UK, Smex uninstalled Overwatch from his PC, which greatly decreased the amount of hours he was playing of Overwatch.
You know what the worst bit was? When we were at the
What?
Overwatch World Cup in the practice area, Smex was obviously
started
didn't have a
playing.
PC, but he was watching going, this really makes me want to start playing Overwatch again. It's like, it's
He
too
started
late
doing
now.
quick play on the spare computer. He's just like, my Doom is clean, guys. Put me in.
Yeah, like I saw that guy playing in the practice area, and he was like getting turbo gapped on Sigma by like a fucking non-top 500 player in ranked. It's like he played one game and realized he didn't have a chance. It was like the discussion was like, if we go 2 maps up versus Brazil, we're gonna put Smex and William in. And then I think after 1 or 2 ranked games, the guy decided, no, actually, I don't think I
Well, he
can't
was a
do
bit-
this. You know?
He was a bit drunk, no?
We were
Yeah, the
quite
problem is
hungover
that the day
that
we were
day.
going to bring him in, Smex was unbelievably hungover, obviously. So really, it was really hard to justify Smex's position both on the roster and in a starting position. But I like that guy.
Great
you know, he was
vibes.
good. I think
It's
yeah,
good,
the
good for
vibes
a
were
laugh,
good.
you know?
Well, we talked
yeah.
last week about how it's important to have a player on the roster who brings the intangibles, who brings the group together, and Smex was that guy.
They've got to
true.
be on the roster, mate. Like he was,
He
he
was on the
was.
roster.
He was part of the team.
He was probably
It
playing
was.
VR chat. for
Everyone
half
had a
his
lot of
scrims, trying to
respect
chat
for
someone
Smex.
up. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think
go on.
anyone's mad that Smex was on the roster.
Well, maybe Tread.
Yeah, maybe
maybe a
Maybe
week,
presumably
you know,
the-
like
Tread and
People
the
who-
Holy Pig or whoever else we had in the
Yeah,
UK trials.
people
for
whose
tag,
position
but-
he stole are probably pissed off. Everyone else don't give a fuck.
Yeah, maybe.
The World Cup ends disappointment, which actually follows what's starting to become a bit of a trend of UK disappointing World Cup performance. Gone back to back, blown it.
Top 8 isn't blowing it though.
Yeah, I
It's-
agree with that.
It's not like
Okay, yeah.
Finland were
absolutely
actually good
getting
too,
knocked out
right?
of groups.
Like-
Yeah, Finland was a top 3 team.
Yeah.
There's some cope to be had here.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess
if
our
you really
opinion
look at
before
it-
the event was very different than our opinion
okay.
at the event
Yeah.
once we saw how good Finland
Let's-
were.
Yeah.
Max, let me give you a hypothetical, and then you tell me if I'm coping. If we'd drawn Korea instead of Finland in the quarters, and we'd lost, and we said top 8, would we have blown it?
I guess not, you know. But I just think that top 8, it's not a particularly respectable finish, right? You know, it's just going par.
Yeah.
You know,
We were
it's
fucking
just
top
hitting.
16,
exactly
so.
what it. That's what,
Yes,
exactly
but
what
we're
it is.
Australia. I don't know.
I
We've
think
got a
top
roster
8,
of
that
people
was.
that don't play the game.
Yeah. Well, kind of us too, actually.
There's only 3 Overwatch League players that I can think of in the first second of your roster, you know? Like,
Yeah, we just needed 1 or 2 more, and then we could have
Maybe a Sigma.
competed with the,
maybe you could have taken Finland, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that a top 8 finish is like particularly respectable at the World Cup, because it really is just like a Mickey Mouse dogfight until you get into like the top 4, pretty much, you know. Until that point, it's just like every team has some gaping, you know, J. Karu sized hole in it, and you know everyone is incapable of filling that until they get to around the top 4 of the bracket, or you know, USA just randomly coming 8th alongside you.
Just having 5 Overwatch League sick players and then
Yeah,
just
but the
drop out.
overwhelming favorite of the tournament, and they just get absolutely shit
Yeah,
stopped.
they had the best SIG in the world, and they couldn't make it happen either. So maybe it was an unsolvable problem.
I mean, there's no shame in finishing side by side with Team USA, which, mind you, Team Australia did as well. So you know, if you think about it, we all kind of finished in the exact same place.
Yeah, not too bad.
Brothers in arms.
That's it. Yeah, I'm not gonna hang it on my wall, but I also think it probably could have been
hang it
worse,
on my wall.
To be honest, you're not hanging anything on the wall. Every time I see you on the broadcast, I think the background needs a bit more, you know, spice or something.
Yeah,
I saw
know,
Xavier's
but...
really jazzed it up with a picture of you in the
I
background now, so I'm going to be haunted every time I look over at that side of the camera.
I don't really know. I don't know what I can do, really.
Well, you have a picture of me up as well, right, Chris?
I actually don't. I'm sorry to let you know, but...
Get that Chris picture down. Take it away. He's fake as fuck.
Well, on the subject of coaches on walls, I think it'd be fair to say Astro probably has 3 framed pictures of his 3 coaches from his time on Gladiators. So we can move into...
Speaking of framed pictures of coaches on walls, I missed the KDG poster. I need a KDG poster at home.
I'll see if I can get the picture of KDG up real quick.
Yeah, we need that for the
KDG?
podcast. In our scrim room,
facility.
Yeah,
What?
because me and Lastro had both previously been coached and scarred by KDG, so in an attempt to bully slightly, there was a giant poster of him right above Lastro's desk, like staring at him.
That put me out like 40
every time he died, and didn't think about the lose condition and how we were going to lose the fight. It was just, look at KDG Lastro. Look at him. What would he say? What would he shout at you right now?
Well, it seems that really helped Lastro throughout the season and helped him keep stable and performing to a high level.
He quit about a month or two.
Yeah, within a month of the KDG poster going up, he was off the team. You know? Like it really, dividends were paid for sure.
So we can start there then, because I think we'll work back. But at least on Twitter, Lastro was never announced to be gone. In fact, I saw lots of complaints to the Glad's coaching staff of why you decided to play Cal instead of Lastro when Lastro was your best player or whatever. So
not on the team.
Where was he?
He might have been in Korea, playing Maple Story for another 12 hours a day. He's a busy man.
Oh.
Yeah. To be honest, I never really understood why we didn't announce that Lastro was off the team, to be honest. I think there must have been something where it's like he was leaving but not leaving, you know? Like he wasn't being let out of his contract. He must have done some sort of like mutual, I'm going to go home, not get paid, have the option to come back. Because I feel like it didn't make sense to not announce that he's leaving, you know? Like if he quits the team mid-season, which is literally what he did, why wouldn't you tell people as much, you know? Why wouldn't you say, goodbye, Lastro? And it couldn't have been because we weren't paying someone to tweet, because we did still have that guy dicking around the office occasionally posting a graphic, you know? Like, there was the manpower to tweet, Lastro's not on the team anymore, you know? But everyone just...
Presumably. I have the manpower to tweet it, you know?
I feel like one of us should have
a one-man job.
Like, one of you guys, because the coaches were getting reamed in the comments. You guys were just getting flamed so hard for not playing Lastro, and he just wasn't there. Like, he'd gone straight after the Valiant game. I think we lost to Valiant, and he'd
gone in the middle of the Valiant game from memory, but you know. Because I just remember specking that Valorant, the Valiant game from Australia, and I'm messaging Face like mid-match, like we've really got to put Lastro in for map 5. Like we played the map 3 or the map 4, and it was like I think it was middle of map 4, and it's like I could see it was we were going to the 5th, you know, like we just completely fucking like thrown the match strategically. It was just so over. It's like we need Lastro for map 5, you know, we're gonna play BAP all 3. We need him in, and Face just replied to me, and he's like, Lastro can't play map 5. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean he can't play map 5? Like, he's right there, isn't he? And then afterwards, I'm told, oh yeah, he said, no, I can't play anymore, period. Like,
he was done. He hated everything about the Gladiators, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he had the best time.
Especially the coaches.
Ooh. Which coaches?
Fucking all of them, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe Unter a little less than the other two. I feel like that was like the general. Yeah, you had an excuse, a very valid excuse.
No, well, not just that, but you know, like by virtue of going out and buying Shake Shack with him every now and then, I feel like I earned his good graces, you know, by like socializing with the guy rather than coming up behind him and
you also
probably needed to die for his honor play.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably hadn't told him he was a terrible player and such.
Yeah, you know, because I wasn't going after his maternal parents for his Anna play, you know, like I was kind of saved from being absolutely and utterly hated. But at the same time, I think he was so unhappy with everything that it was like, by the time he was on the way out, that idiot messaging him on Discord a couple of times a week to be like, okay, mate, probably sick of him too, you know?
I think it was an impossible year to be a flex support on the Glads, because we have the same coaches as last year, and we go from Shu, and then every time you're on Anna, it's just like, well, if we had Shu, we would have won this fight. Shu would have done this.
Did they actually say that?
Yeah. I remember this being said at multiple points where it's like, well, if we had Shu, we'd win.
Oh, my bad. Sorry about that.
So just like, how do you? No one can compare with that, I think.
Here's the
I love the KDG post.
KDG. So Lastro could just be tortured every day.
Yeah, that was probably what killed him, you know.
Yeah,
that's actually on me. That one is on me. So I guess all the Glads coaches really did like actively contribute to this guy's downfall.
He's got 3 coaches every day that he hates, and he's just playing MapleStory. He looks up on it as the 4th one, you know. And you can't escape these coaches.
Yeah. Now, it was a really bad year to be, I think, any role on the Gladiators, but especially if you were a tank or a flex support, it was just like an endless struggle, you know? Because if you've got Brother Smash coaching you on the Gladiators, then you're going to get like an hour to an hour and a half of like dedicated scene by scene tank feedback per day, plus all the direct messages during scrims convincing you that you're the worst player in the known universe.
It's just like, you watch the VOD and it's recorded on Smash's game. You can see the whispers and it's just like, you are fucking terrible. I can play better than you. What is this jump? What is this bubble?
I cannot understand this.
It's just like, the guy needed some chill when it came to tank players.
But I don't actually know what the flex support feedback really looked like, to be honest.
It was more like, we just can't win. But he just say that to the flex support. It's like, if you play like this, we're not going to win.
Reasonable.
Not to reburn the bridge, but what nationality is Smash?
He's Korean.
Wow.
Which is how we circle back to the fact that the Koreans actually ruined the Overwatch League, just like they ruined the
Gladiators.
Gladiators.
Oh,
no. There we go.
They've got us.
It does feel like, though, the Gladiators season really didn't start all that well either. Like, if we go all the way back to, like, the roster building, it feels like you almost just downgraded. Everyone who changed was a downgrade.
I'd say it wasn't a great off-season, but then we actually did well in the first half of the season. Like, we came second in Pro-Am after beating Houston and Atlanta. And then we should have qualified for mid-season. We lose like... Yeah, we came just below. We lose map 5
away from it, right?
Yeah, we were one map away like twice or something. And it's just fucking like ridiculous that we didn't qualify. I think if we'd qualified, then maybe we would have had the balls to stick with Dante, and maybe Lastro would have stayed because he would have already got to go back to Korea for the tournament. It would have given him a nice mental boost. But I think if we'd have just won that map 5 against, I think it was Boston. Did we lose it to Boston or Mayhem? It was
Mayhem
on and Eco Point Antarctica.
Yeah, that was a really painful Antarctica. I remember
when we're 99 on both
dangerously
support
close. Yeah.
And I'm screaming, play slow, beat in 1%. And Dante just stops blocking and runs in.
Yeah, that was a career-ending release of the right click. I can't lie.
Yeah, we would have just won that map, but it was a bit of a disaster. I think the first half of the season was good. It was just the second half where it all went downhill, where we lost both of those players and we're starting from scratch with like Marvel, who speaks a few words of English, and then Cal, who is just doing his thing.
I mean, I think people really slept on the fact, like from the staff perspective, that like Lastro was like an extremely good rush player. You know, like he wasn't like insanely good at BAP in terms of like, you know, basically putting out like a crazy individual carry performance. But you know, he would play the role on BAP, like wouldn't completely feed his fucking brains out. And like from a communication, like leadership standpoint, he was like the rush player on the team. Like it was really obvious that he was the person that was capable of like controlling the push and pull of the game. And then Dante, like he had like a generally a pretty passive style in all of the rush stuff. Like he didn't just want to like run it down to their backline a lot, but overall, like he understood the idea of like playing a position and playing the ult state, you know. And then once those two guys were gone, I feel like we were just, to be honest, I didn't actually hear the comms all that much, so I don't know if this is entirely true, but my impression was that we were just the most brain-dead rush team ever, you know? Like, we went really, really far backwards in understanding, where it was just a bunch of fucking idiots that wanted to push all the time and had no fucking clue about, like, the conditions of what it took to push. Because I think that, like, Lastro actually had a really good understanding of that stuff, and Dante had a really good, or like a reasonable understanding of how not to completely fucking throw the game. Whereas, you know, Marvel was very much push-pilled, you know? It was like, I'm going to press my Ramatra shift really fucking early, and if I don't kill someone in the first 5 seconds of pressing left click, then the game is over. And that's just not how these comps actually work, you know? These comps are more than one turn. Like, there's a push and pull, and I think that once we lost Lastro and once we lost Dante, but really Lastro was the like super important one, that was gone, you know? There was no longer a person that understood that shit in the server, and the coaching perspective was like, yeah, let's try it his way. I remember
let's try his way.
No, I just remember like showing up to the first couple of weeks of like the Marvel coaching, and it was like, you know, I had an opinion, and Marvel had an opinion, and it was like, let's try it his way. And it's like, it's just not.
It was always try it Marvel's way.
It's just not going to work for me, because I don't believe that this way is how the game works. But you know, it was like,
it was frustrating because there was stuff that we'd already figured out, like certain positions and certain push timings on the Ram comp, where we felt like we had it down pretty well, I thought.
Fucking Yaki, dude. I'm sorry, I'm just watching this fucking guy, dude. This guy, the biggest grifter in the world, bro. Actually, get the fuck out of here. Actually crazy. Oh my god. I just remember.
He has been paid so much across his career.
Actually, just like the king of securing the bag for the most lukewarm performances in history. You know, this guy hasn't made play-ins in 3 years. Would you believe that? Play-ins, not offs, ins.
Yeah.
This guy hasn't made it to the fucking play-ins in 3. How's that possible? Like, that can't be real, bro. That can't be real.
And he is
all of his good performances were just losing on New York, but it was like, oh, they lost, but fucking hell, Yaki was amazing.
In 2020, in 2020, they were great at like the double shield stuff. And he was a pretty solid tracer back in 2020, which is literally back when Jesus was playing quarterback for Bethlehem, mind you. Good FunnyAstro. Yeah, so like back when Jesus was a boy, Yaki was doing well on tracer. But even then, I remember when we were on LA Valiant, me, Lastro, Shax, Kai. Like, I remember Shax was just turbo gapping Yaki every time it was a Zen tracer meta. Gangnam Jin Yaki versus Shax versus Shax and Lastro, those motherfuckers just could not beat the LA Valiant because the tracer gap was just too large.
I remember getting turbo gapped by Yaki on tracer in that meta as well.
Yeah, you had carpet on tracer, didn't you, mate? Like, you guys had no tracer player. Yeah, you guys didn't have a tracer player, so no wonder you were fucking losing. But Yaki was the king of beating like random main DPS players on tracer, so you know, good for him. And plus 4 years, and you know, we're still not making play-ins, so happens.
I still think we should have had Dante on Sombra, cut Yaki, and then got a new tank player.
Yeah, that was probably would have been the move. And then what would have happened is we would have not played the new tank player. We would have not played the new tank player. Put Dante back on tank because it was a Junker Queen, Doom, Zarya,
then
Orisa
Kev
meta
Kai
for the
play.
entire remainder of the year, and then Kev Kai Perma, and we would just be done, you know. And then we'd be in playoffs, losing in like the 6th place or something, you know.
Yeah, at least we
would have continued to be mid, but we would have been better than 11th place North America, you know, like that.
Yeah.
That's a fall from grace. But yeah, now cutting Dante and then Lastro deciding that was the final straw, you know, that oh boy.
Good
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were just like a consistently shite rush team, you know, just like terrible understanding of macro and always trying to win too quickly. And then
Yeah.
you would
I want to
watch
ask about the
top
coach.
dogs.
Yeah, the coaching was specifically because one thing I found on Team UK was I found that when I started to coach Astro and Kai, I had extraordinarily damaged goods. Like these guys were so fucking stupid. It was actually like, what the fuck has happened? I coached Astro 2 years ago. The guy played with discipline, always talking about lose conditions, playing safe. I watch him fucking push his fucking his brains out, and I'm like, what the fuck has happened to
I
these
remember
guys?
my first year on Glads where FaZe consistently talked about like beating the KDG style out of me. Like
I tried to beat it back into you.
Yeah. I'm just being beaten up in different directions. Because I got fucking abused by KDG into this style of, lose condition, always counter, don't die. And then I come into Glads and it's just like, fucking go in, you pussy, use your mechanics and kill them. And then I come back to Team UK, it's like, back to lose conditions again. I'm like, I'm losing my mind. I have no idea what to think.
Just one abusive relationship to the next.
It's literally what it's like. And the worst part is, I truly believe that the loose condition stuff was better. But then my first year on Glads, I start playing this brain dead run in and kill shit style, and we win. And it's like, well, fuck. Like, is everything I knew before a lie? Like,
problem was like we only won in like these 2 specific metas, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we won at the start of Overwatch 2 when it was like crazy flanking nonsense, you know. And like by the time mid-season had come around, you won a fucking Ilios doing brain dead shit, you know, and then you lost your Li Zhang, you know, you went 1 for 1 in the final, you know, like that style was not perfect already, you know, and then for the second half of the year, you were a fucking dog, bro. Like we come to the Junker Queen meta, and it was like, I just can't believe how much Daniel is feeding. It was like I was head in my hands watching you die.
I was also getting fucking brain dead coaching as well.
Yeah, man. Blame the coaches. I remember.
No. We had no strategy. We had no strategy in Queen meta. Name a single fucking thing. Any sort of idea or plan.
Position.
We had nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. Tried my best. I really did in that one. That was the.
But by the end of it, we were actually good.
Yeah, but it was a bit little late. And then like I think the real sad thing was that like I felt like we had the acknowledgement in the Queen meta that Smash's approach to the meta wasn't right, you know, that the way he thought about this style of comp wasn't right. So this isn't how we should think about future Lucio Rushy push-pull metas, you know. But then we came to playoffs and the exact same thing happened, where it was the same style of meta, the same style of comp, and the same flow of the game, and we went back to the exact same fucking thing of, all right, Smash, you're back up the front again. Let's talk about positions for an hour. And it's just like, it just wasn't how either of those metas flowed. And I thought like in the Queen meta, we would have like learned the lesson that like, this isn't how you approach this. But then come playoffs, we just approached it the same way again, you know? And I just couldn't wrap my head around that. And then we came to, you know, this year's Gladiators, and, you know, I think Smash, he'd smoked enough of the peace pipe that he just CBA'd at that point. By the time Marvel was in, you know, we weren't gonna.
Yeah, by the time Marvel was, I feel like after midseason, everyone just didn't give a fuck anymore.
I thought there was some optimism right when Marvel joined.
Yeah, there was optimism for a week or so.
Yeah, but it was like
a week of good scrims, and then it just went back to like
the whole let's try it his way thing, that was enough for me to be like, no, this can't be right, you know? Like we get someone from like a non-rushy region and we put him on the rushy hero and it's like, yep, I know he's mechanically good at it, but like really fucking obvious problems here. And it was just like, you're not even allowed to solve these problems, you know? It's literally like, stop trying to give Marvel feedback, let's try it his way. And it's like, dude, he's shifting at the start of the fight and running into a blizzard.
Yeah, it was really strange.
You know what? It was the most obvious shit in the world.
When we had Dante on the roster, it was always like, oh, my fucking tank, he's doing all this dumb shit. And then we get Marvel, and he's doing equally dumb shit.
He's doing dumb shit in Korean.
But then, like,
what nationality is Marvel?
Korean.
He's Korean.
No.
He's doing equally dumb shit, and then Face and Smash is just like, you know, let's just try it. I'd be like, if this was Dante doing this, then he would get flamed so fucking hard, and it was just unbelievable. Also, this map is giving me flashback to the Gladiators. You know what I'm about to say about Esperanza, Hunter.
Yeah,
there were multiple times we played this map.
No, to be fair, I stepped in on sorry for like the scrimmage leak or whatever. It's like I stepped in on what's the team name? EXO or XXO, whatever you guys are on, you know? And you guys were on Esperanza, and it's like, you guys got the checkpoint, and I loved hearing the argument between the brain dead gladiators and the one guy that manages to get past top 8 in these metas. And Hardy's like, all right, guys, let's park the bus here, let's just play slow. And then I hear like Kev, and I think it's you, just like clowning the fuck out of Hardy about how you want to push up and fight more. Hardy's such a
we were taking the piss.
It's like, oh my god, just stand on the corner, you fucking morons. They have to push.
It actually feels like the London style and the Gladiator style is genuinely polar opposites.
Yeah,
like, there's
really
more extreme
absolutely
angle.
Opposed.
Yeah. So you guys said, okay, like after mid-season, you tried for about a week and then everyone gave up.
What is going on?
Put the blender on?
Oh, sorry, mate. I was hoping that this was a little more isolating. I'm trying to make it. Yeah, that's for the Spotify listeners. Enjoy that.
But yeah, okay. So you say, after a week of mid-season, then everyone just gives up. But how is that possible? Because surely the first half of the season, you guys were pretty happy with, or did you have like higher standards in terms of like what you expected? Because when I looked at your roster, I was like, okay, like this is not a roster that's going to win the league like the previous year. So, like, top 2 in Pro-Am, just narrowly made thing. I was like, this roster is actually maybe even overperforming where I had you in my head. So I felt like that should have bought you more than 1 week's good grace before everyone gave up.
It was more the vibe in the team. It was just so depressed. Like, the Gladiators facility is so depressing. And every other week, there's just like tweets about people being cut from the gun. It's just like, oh, well, we're probably up soon. And it's just like, how long are we still going to have our jobs?
How much do you think little Dante and I leaving had an impact on that?
That was a
thing, you know?
huge impact, because Unter also left in the middle of the season. So the people in the office was like me, Kev, Kai, and then Babel only came to the office for scrims and then went home. So he wasn't really about.
Yeah, the Bab was at home playing on the Bab top most of the time.
And then that's it. And then there's Yaki. I can't forget Yaki, obviously, but he's just like half a human.
Just getting paid.
Living with Yaki was such an experience. Like,
clean, no?
You shared an apartment with him?
I shared an apartment with him. After Lastro moved out, I got a fresh roommate. And he would knock on my door almost daily with some sort of like life problem that he hadn't yet figured out at the age of like 22. And it would just be like, how do I open this door? And I'm like, you twist the handle and you pull it. Yeah, he's like, oh, so smart. And he's like, thank you, Astro. I go back to my room. I'm like, I'm living in some crazy world. And it's the same every day. He always knock on my door and be like, hey, funny. And there's just some dumb question that he can't figure out. And it's just like, "Oh, you can clean this." I'm like, "Yes, you can clean the side of the kitchen when it gets dirty." He's like, "Oh,
life hacks with Astro."
I felt like with Overwatch players, there's this thing, and I don't. This probably isn't like an Overwatch thing. It's probably just like maybe it's like a this generation thing. But it's like if there's ever a problem, people are so afraid to try because it's like, oh, if I try too hard to open the door, it'll just break. So it's like immediately just ask for help. And it was the same with like all the teams we've been on. Like the level of adversity people were willing to put in to figure out how to turn the microwave on was quite literally zero. And it was, okay, I've got it. And ironically, the only person who had the adversity was my man Sauna. But the problem was he was willing to go through the adversity, but he also didn't have the brain cells to figure out like some of the other things. So he would cook for the first time, and he'd be cooking his fish or his chicken, and he would just leave the like rubber tongs in the pan. He goes, "Oh, it's melted," and I'm like, oh. But at the same time, I'm like, it's actually better than all the other players I've got who are like, "Oh, how to turn it on? I can't ask an adult. Ask an adult." I remember also so nice to be fair. One time, this thing is actually such a. So we would order from this Backyard Bowls, right? And it was like an acai bowl place. It was like the staple of London, and they would order it, and you'd add a side, and most of the time they would just add your side into the drink, right? And then eventually at some point they start to add the side on the side, like in a little package. I remember Sona went up to Nuki and he goes, "Oh, did Backyard Bowls change the way they do their packaging?" And I'm saying like, how the fuck is she meant to know this? Like, how is it like the way that your mind circuit goes is, "Oh, Backyard Bowls? Nuki will know that they've changed their internal packaging model."
He did run it past it, yeah.
But that's just how it goes. It's just like if you ask like one of the adults in the room after you've had a look for something, like for me, I ask my wife all the time, "Where the fuck is this?" Because I'll just leave it out and then it won't be there, and I'll check, and I'm like, and just, "Oh yeah, it's in the white pouch on the third drawer." And here I'm like, okay, fair enough. But at least I'll give it a go, you know. I'll try and find it. But I felt with the players, it's like, "Oh, it's not on my desk." Well, I'll go figure out someone who can sort that one out for me. And it's like the level that they're willing to try to get to the end objective is basically zero, you know.
I think this is like a pretty. Oh no, you got that, mate.
I was gonna go. I remember a story Reprise told me of his time on LA Valiant with your main man Lastro, where they were scrimming, and Lastro was playing with a just room for whatever reason, and Lastro was like, I can't play. They're like, "Why can't you play?" It's like, "There's too much sun on my screen. I can't even see my screen."
He couldn't close the blind.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to close the blind.
Unironically, Reprise has to go to his apartment, close the blind, then okay, I can play. I was like, my god. Thank God Reprise was on hand to solve this unsolvable problem and get scrims back on track.
To be fair, I think Lastro was slightly better. When I was living with him, he was like, he could cook for himself. He ordered himself groceries and stuff. He was pretty responsible and
That's
willing
pretty
to do his
advanced,
own
I
stuff.
think.
That's what I thought was interesting, because it was like, you know, Lastro, he was 4 years into Overwatch League, right? Same time period as Yaki. They both joined.
But Yaki couldn't do it.
And it's it's like Lastro picked up all of this adversity training, you know, 4 years on his own, and he figured out how to close a blind, put pork belly in pot once per night, that sort of thing, you know, all the bare necessities. Whereas Yaki, it was like, he would just scratch his head at how to turn a door handle. And it was like, I don't know where you guys diverged in terms of adulting. Because like I can see how it happens when they're younger, right? You know, you're 15 years old, you're playing video games.
First time living away from home.
I feel like it's reasonable when it's your first time living away from home to be like, oh, how do I cook for myself? How do I order groceries like in this foreign country? But after 4 years, there's really no excuse for not knowing how to do any of it.
You know, Yaki's definitely on some special assistance back home, no doubt.
I feel like 18-year-old Chris, I think there was definitely some stuff I was like, with the oven or whatever, I was like, I remember I was, especially when I moved in on my own in Fusion Season 2, like American ovens have this thing where there's like a gas smell basically every time you use it. And that just terrified the shit out of me. So I would like, it would actually slow me down cooking a lot because I'm like, oh fuck, it's like the room smells of gas again. Like, yeah, am I about to fucking explode? Like, is it meant to be like this? Because in England, I don't smell gas ever.
Electric.
Yeah, so I remember like some stuff, especially when it comes to like the oven and cooking, I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit scared to do this because if I do it wrong, maybe it explodes and everybody dies. But with the blinds in the doors, I feel like I'd really put a lot of hard effort into opening it. I like to think even 15-year-old Chris, I don't know, I'd actually go further. I think 12-year-old Chris could get the blinds. I really think that he'd have that in him. I don't know how much younger, but 12-year-old Chris, blinds, doors, I was nailing those things at that age. You know what I mean?
It's actually just occurred to me that when I got to my apartment, like for the second time this year, because I had to change apartments when I came back to the US for the final week of the Gladiators season, I actually did have to ask Lindsay, my housemate, how to open the blind or how to shut the blind, because it had some sort of like finicky. It was a finicky little release, where you had to kind of like drag it to the side. I remember standing in the room, pulling away at it like a cat or something for like 5 minutes, trying to figure out how to release the blind, because I pulled it up and I couldn't get it back down, and I was like, "What's going on here?" I'm so.
You just pull it to the left.
To be honest, those apartments.
That was the solution.
Yeah. Those apartments, half the blinds were broken, so they were pretty shite.
Yeah, all the ones Yaki had been in before.
The great thing about my apartment is the other room. Whoever had been in there the previous year, I think it was Patty. Yeah, he'd taped like a blackout curtain over the window. There was just like gaffer tape taping it down, the whole thing. And no one changed that. So whoever was in that room didn't need to worry about the blinds. They just left the taped up blind permanently. So it was permanently pitch black in there. No sunlight whatsoever.
If there's one thing you want to avoid in Los Angeles, it's definitely the sunlight. Just like famously awful weather.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
It might make your mental health a little bit too good if you get any sunlight. So definitely lock yourself in the dark.
Yeah, I think after Yaki, there was one off day where I remember he came out at the end of the day and I was like, "Oh, Yaki, what have you done today?" And he's just like, "I just watched YouTube shorts for 12 hours. I'm like, "Okay." Good off day.
Yeah, no, it's like if I ever have a day where I have like 4 hours of screen time on TikTok, it's like, wow, I think I might be like really close to being depressed, But that's just the average Gladiators off day for everyone. Just stayed in bed scrolling for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Dude, TikTok and stuff, this isn't really about Gladiators, but it's actually fucking crazy how like addicting it is for everyone. I remember when I was back in England last time I took the bus, and sometimes you get the bus and it's the school kids. So I've gone through like for the last like 5 years to take the school bus home. I always try to avoid it because it's fucking horrible, because they're all just like fucking pissing around upstairs, like throwing shit around. So I try to avoid it, but sometimes you can't. And I remember the last time I went, I was shocked because every single one of these fucking kids came onto the school bus, and every single one you could just see it was the same action, no matter what. It was just every single kid was just like this, like fucking like scrolling through TikTok.
Terrible,
this shit's actually fully infected the fucking youth of today, like to an unbelievable level.
I refuse to download TikTok. I feel like it's just gonna rot my brain, and I'll get addicted. Like I'll sit there like one of those kids, just like endlessly scrolling.
I had to. There's on YouTube Shorts. There's a way you can X out.
Yeah, I always remove it. I can't. Yeah, I can't live my life without it.
I find myself like X will sit next to me when I was in my YouTube Shorts. It was just instinct. Your brain is fully off. You just turn on, you just click it, and next thing you know, like 10 minutes are gone. You're like, what the fuck has happened here? Like, how is this gone on here? Like, I didn't think for a single second. So I was like, okay. Actually, if you close it down, you don't go on it, you don't miss it. But if it's there, this could be a good one. And the next thing you know, you got Subway Surfers on, and then
I used to do the same
with to mush.
I used to do the same with Twitter. I'd find myself scrolling, then I'd be like, oh, what the fuck am I doing? Do some fucking work, you idiot. Then I go back to work, and then before I know it, I don't even realise, but I'm just back on Twitter. I'm like in a fucking trance, and I'm just like, what is happening to my brain? I just need to
It's terrible, really.
I need to just stay away from it.
I've like tried to uninstall Twitter like 5 times. I never win, but there was a breaking point for me where I was sat on my laptop in bed, like in the morning, whatever, chilling, and I scroll up and nothing new refreshes. And what my brain did without me like having any control of it is it picked up my phone and it went on Twitter and just scrolled. And I sat there and I was like, okay, I've got Twitter there. Nothing's appearing, and I haven't had a single bit of ownership over this action. Like I'm just fucking here, and I'm like, all right, I guess I probably got to uninstall this shit, really.
I feel like
still on Twitter.
It's so bad because I never remember like anything that I've looked at. I'll just endlessly scroll and I'll be like, what did I see today? I can't remember a single like post that I found interesting and actually read, or anything that I really gave a shit about. So it's just like, why have I been sat here for 2 hours and just made time disappear? It's just
actually unbelievable.
It's just terrible.
So we're saying it's not the youth of today's fault. It's,
Yeah, it's
society,
just
it's society.
it's the apps. They've got us.
Who invented TikTok? The Koreans?
Oh fuck.
No, I'm not going. I'm not going. I'm not
Chinese,
going.
right?
It's a Chinese company, I think.
I'm not blaming the Chinese for anything, so we'll blame the youth of today instead. If it was the Koreans, I could go for it, but I'm not blaming the Chinese.
We'll wait until your wife is out later and then ask you the question again.
And then, for sure. All right, so we should probably get back to some sort of Overwatch on the podcast. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about like the players and stuff, but I was always really intrigued and about like the coaching like system. I feel like we've maybe like spoke about this idea of like a lot of like Smash coaching is more bullying / verbal abuse, but and maybe I don't know which one is better to answer this question, but I feel like one thing I've always thought about Glad's coaching, and X, you can tell me if you agree with this, even when they were like the top dogs in season 5 or whenever it was, I watched Glad's VODs and I was like, I'm not showing a single thing of this to my team because I felt like there was actually no logical patterns to the way you played. It was just, oh yeah, Shoes just naded and killed everyone. Then Reiner's gone and punched 5 people off the map. And then Kevsa's just bladed and killed 5. And I'm like, I could show that to the boys, but I'm not convinced they're just gonna.
Yeah, not
Blade. He's post 5 people then.
That's more reasonable. Yeah.
Sorry guys, sorry. So what was the day-to-day with the coaching? Like, was it individual feedback, VOD review? How did you do it in terms of like, what did it look at? Was it ever? Did you ever talk about fucking ults?
I don't think ults were ever talked about like in terms of macro and planning. It was more like use one at a time, try not to use all of them, kind of thing. There was never like any crazy strategy with it, from what I remember. It was more just the angles. I think that's what you didn't see when you were watching our VODs. Is there were so many different angles and the ways that we were diving from is the only thing we ever coached super heavily. I feel like because I think our VOD reviews were super dysfunctional. I'm not sure if Untra agree.
I mean,
but
you know that.
Okay, so the format was there's a coach meeting before, and you guys would all. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You'd all wake up. You'd all wake up nice and early in the morning and come in and spend an hour talking, and you would just show each other clips that you have from the game where you're like, this guy fucked up here, he should do this instead. And it would just be that, and you would just show each other all your clips. And then you would come, and that would not change anything about what would be shown to the players. Maybe you'd filter like some of them out.
Just remove duplicates, right? Like,
yeah, you'd remove the duplicates, and then it would be the VOD review with all the players, and all the coaches would just show all their clips individually with no like generic focus the majority of the time. There would never be any like, hey guys, today let's focus on using not getting mailed or not getting frozen or dodging this. It would never be like that. It would always just be like this scattergun sort of feedback where you'd get 5 or 6 clips per person and then 30 for the tank player. And then
perfect ratio.
Yeah. And then most of it would be useless. Like you'd be scrimming and you'd be like, oh, maybe once a week I can relate to one of these clips that I've been shown before and use it in game. But most of the time, it just wasn't very useful, I felt like.
If you were to power rank the 3 coaches in terms of their clips, where would you put them?
Ooh. Well, it depends what meta we're talking about.
If it's a dive meta.
Dive meta? I'd put little Smashy at number 1. And then... Yeah. I don't know what to do after that.
Yeah, I mean, like...
it was just Smash.
Smash was the only one that would talk, you know?
Yeah, in dive meta,
dive meta, and he'd had 700 clips a day, so...
Yeah, there's no room for another coach to coach.
What about Brawl meta?
I'd say Unter number 1, Face number 2, Smash number 3.
Ooh. I see.
I think we had like this insane problem where it was like, you described the coach meeting and stuff like that, but we just had like really differing opinions about how we should be like teaching people, like you said like, oh, we had so many clips and this like big scattergun approach. I think like irrespective of the content, like the actual details, I think we had like super conflicting views about like how long a review should go and how we should present information and stuff like that. Because my feeling is that like we didn't need everyone to talk, I felt that if we're going to have a coach meeting that is a one-to-one replica of how long the actual review was, then Smash should never need to talk really in a review, like we shouldn't need someone that speaks English as a second language slowly to do the talking. If we're going to have a meeting where we all put our clips on the table, then we should just have one person, like your head coach as an example, synthesize that information and then present it to the team in a manner that's, maybe a little more concise, maybe like there's some generalization taking place. So then there's like a common theme that we're working on. But really it was just like, let's show up, talk for an hour for literally zero reason, because whether or not we agreed or disagreed, Smash would show the clip anyway 90% of the time. And then just like literally just like waste an hour of every coach's time in the morning, then present that same information exactly the same in the meeting, and then go into the day. And it was like I'm more of a less is more type person in terms of how I want to like present information. I don't think that I think that my understanding of dive is pretty low. So like when the dive metas were about, I didn't really come with all that much to be perfectly honest. It was like I showed up and in the first couple of weeks, it's like, holy fuck, this guy has a lot of material and I just don't have anything like this. The way he's talking, this isn't how I think at all. So like I feel like I can't really contribute here. I'm just gonna let him do his thing, But then like we would come to the brawl metas and it was like I would have general ideas about how I wanted to talk, but then Smash would come in the morning with the same quantity of clips as he had in dive, and I wouldn't agree with any of it anymore, And then that was where I felt like we really started to have problems. Obviously, we were having problems like at the same time that we're losing, right? Like we start to lose, so obviously you're going to have more problems. But this was where it was like, I really philosophically disagree with what we're talking about in these reviews, in these meetings. But the structure has been established at this point, Like I don't talk much, Smash talks a lot. I don't have space to talk anymore. I can show up and I can give a couple of clips at the end of the review. Like we've had our hour. I'm the final 10 minutes. I'm the final, 5 clips of 50. But it's like, really, I felt that my style of how I wanted to talk about stuff was in complete conflict with how Smash wanted to talk about stuff. And I think by the end of that, like, 2022 mid-season, like it was established, Smash is going to talk a lot, Face is going to talk a little, I'm going to talk a little. And that was basically our overall structure. The only time that I ever got to talk a lot throughout the whole year was when, in Junker Queen meta, we went 0-4 and Smash got really fucking frustrated and basically tapped out of the meta. He was like, fuck it, like you guys don't agree with me, so I'm just not doing anymore. And then it was like, oh, sick, I have like lots of space to talk and do stuff like this. I don't know if these were like revolutionary reviews or anything like that. I really don't think so. But, I think like we swapped Indian, things worked a little better. Like we had easier opponents, we swapped Indian, like lots changed for that meta. But having more space to talk, then I could present general stuff. But Glad's style was never, we're going to generalize, we're going to try and find the common theme in the fights. It was just like a pure positional coaching team forever, Like Chris says, I would watch a Glad's VOD and there was nothing that I could see that I could show my team, I think if you watched a Glad's VOD and you paused the frame at the start of the fight, you would always get great content, because our starting positions were probably fantastic. But this is where the fucking reviews would end every single time, There was this fucking view that the fight was predetermined based on everyone's starting position, like it's a game where if you stand here and you stand here and you stand here, it's just over. But that's not how it worked, because once you changed out of a dive meta where you just had to win the angle game at the start, or like the dive meta we were in at the beginning, immediately it was like you need to understand the push and pull of the fights, you need to understand the flow and the cooldown trades and how you're going to get out and stop taking damage in the middle of the fight. But we never believed in that, It's like what you were complaining about with Esperanza before, we always wanted to believe that you could just win the fight in one fucking turn.
I remember Face talking to me because the Esperanza incident was like, we had the lead, the payload was on their side of the map, and then we as a team wanted to just like stand on high ground and wait for them to make the first move, because it's really awkward to push onto high grounds in these rush comps. And we would love to just stand on the high ground and make the first move and never go. Dante hated going around the corner on their side of the map. Was the big argument. He would always want to come back to our high ground. And I remember
man.
Park the bus.
He wanted to park the bus and play the macro properly. And then Face talked to me at some point, and I was just like, I think it's just really hard to go around this corner. And Face was like, no. Dante just has a mental block around this corner. It's all mental. Like, the corner, it's not that bad. It's just a mental block. And I was just like, I think the corner's pretty hard to go around. And he's like, no.
It's like it's not even just that the corner's hard to go around, you know. It's that
There's no
if you
need.
look behind the corner, the team that is getting pushed has to push up onto a massive high ground where you just can't retake. You know, it's the most broken spot in the entire game. It's like you have to retake Gibraltar second.
I actually think it is. I think the most broken spot in the game is actually the correct way to think about Esperanza like retake. I actually think that hold, almost all of our Esperanza coaching was how to hold or break that, because I actually think from that position you should have like a fucking 90% win rate, because it's, especially in a brawl meta, fuck me is it hard to be able to retake those fuckers just standing on the high ground doing nothing like continuously. And if you remember, if you watch us in the plains especially, we would just do it where we would just drop high to the high ground, everyone else would just park up top. If they pushed hard, he would TP him back up, and if they pushed us they would just die, and we would just fucking hold for 5 minutes, because there's your only way to
8 fights in a row if we needed to.
You just need to fucking headshot someone. I think that push around that corner takes you from an 80% positional advantage to a 20% positional advantage. It's like the dumbest thing you could do unless you don't have lead. If you have lead and you push around that corner, in my opinion, you actually don't understand Overwatch even remotely. Like, it's actually,
I think that's the level we were at for the last 2 years, is pushing around that corner.
Ironically,
crazy, really.
What you guys needed was a better starting position.
That's it. Actually, true. Ironically, it was a positional coaching problem.
I think if you guys went and watched our Ilios World, that was our signature. Spend 2 hours a day reviewing which positions to play on Ilios World. I think we've spent at least 10 hours the last year talking about who should go where at the start of that map, just for the rollout, and that was it. But like things like that, we were genuinely good at, because it's all we would talk about, and we would put so many resources into it, but it was just useless in the rush maps.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like we had this three-headed dragon coaching style, right? Like, it was made famous in season 2 by Shock, where they would have like Krusty 9K and Drunk Buck, right? And I felt like when I was on Fusion, especially season 3 and a little bit the most of season 4 until I became a 2CP coach, I felt like actually it's such a terrible way to do coaching, because the position you were in, Hunter, is on one hand you felt you actually don't want to go over 30 minutes per VOD view because the players will zone out, but also I have 5 clips. A, I've fucking put some effort into this, so I'm going to show it. B, if I don't show my clips, the players are going to think I'm not doing anything. So I'm in this constant position where I actually think my coaching might be having a negative or a not positive effect. But I feel like I have to do some coaching, you know? And I feel like whenever you have coaches that just like, oh, you just do your clips and you do our clips. I think this is one of the big problems when me, X, and Spilo were free, I felt it was really hard for me to figure out like what to get Spilo to do, except to just do your own thing, individual coach people. And I think for him, he felt it really difficult to like, oh fuck, I need to do a review today. I need to do this. I don't want the players to think that I'm slacking, you know?
Yeah.
And I felt that pressure so much in season 3. I was like, fuck, we've just dominated like scrims for the fucking 20th day in a row. I'll go find something for Poco to improve on, because if I don't, then I know the Korean players will shit talk me. I know like the Western players will think I'm a fraud. I know maybe KDG will fire me. And there's a part of me which is like, I really need the respect of my players. I really, really don't want to lose this fucking job. So I'm coaching for the sake of coaching. And I think one thing that like when I talked to X for the very first time on London, I said to him, I actually don't want you to do anything player like focused at all. Like, I actually don't need it. Like, what I want is for X to be my assistant, for him to like talk to me, for him to give me his ideas. I'll filter everything, and then I'll just do everything player outward focusing as much as I can. And then we still get the same ideas from the two coaches. I don't know if X at any point felt like, oh fuck, I haven't done a VOD review in a week. Like maybe the players think I'm not doing anything. But I think that the actual system in terms of like actually improving and actually having a cohesive unit, I don't think there was ever a time in 2 years where any player in London would have said, oh, I think X and Chris aren't on the same page. I don't think they like want to like work towards the same direction. And I feel like that's always been the thing when like head coaches pick 2 assistant coaches, and I think actually, by the way, I think this happens in almost every team. By the way, I guarantee if you go to like fucking Toronto or Washington, it's very, very similar in terms of, I bet their assistant coaches just find some clips, just work on this. You do you, I'll do me, and then we'll make the team better. But that's why I feel like in like traditional sports is everyone will either like in season 4 when I became a 2CP coach, what that meant was what 9K said to me was, Chris, can you just look at the 2CP maps? And he said to me, do 2CP, you pick the roster, you pick the comp, you do everything. And I was like, I actually fucking love that. I actually felt in that month I had done more coaching than in the fucking past 2 years possible, because all of a sudden I didn't need to be on the same page with Moby and 9K. I didn't feel like I had to do anything. As long as we were winning my maps, I didn't feel like there was times I was I've got nothing today. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, well, we won all the 2CPs yesterday, so what the fuck do you want me to do? Like, I don't think there was any like structural issues here. And obviously my Temple of Anubis coaching was fucking legendary. Everybody knows about the Christie F at Temple of Anubis. But that was it. And I feel like actually I always had this idea, and obviously I'll never get to do it now, but I always had this idea of what if I ever coached one of the big boy teams, what if I hired the 2 best coaches I can, and I say, I'm going to work on payload maps, you work on cough and push, you work on
little internal
flashpoint or whatever. and everyone just fucking like fully isolated. You do everything for those maps. I watch a payload map, the next map is cop. I leave the server, go into a fucking replay viewer and just watch it. Deadly serious. And I actually have this theory that this is an unbelievably efficient way of doing coaching in Overwatch, because there's no three-headed dragons where you're all fighting like for space. You all have a job. If I was able to spend 4 hours a day on 2 maps or like 2 game modes, we'd have every position, every ult, every rotation, all of this. So that was always this fucking dream for me to try one day. And now that he's dead.
I don't think it'd work. If there was ever a meta where it was just like one comp, I don't think it'd work.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. I think
it only really works if the style
because
in
there were
that
like
game mode is
there were loads
distinct,
of different comps, and we played different stuff on 2CP, right? But if there was one comp and you've got 3 different coaches going at it from their own angle, then that's where you come with Glad's problems, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think you summed it up. You summed it up like very well in terms of the fighting for space and like the the fighting to feel like, oh, am I contributing adequately, stuff like that. I think overall, like I would usually just take the piss out of the situation and say that I do nothing all the time. That's kind of like it's been my tagline for the past 3 years on every team that I've been on, is just claiming that I do nothing all the time, whether I'm doing something or not. On Gladiators, there were like absolutely metas where I was basically doing nothing. Like if you look at these metas where it's like super dive dominant and Smash is just perma talking all the time. I mean, I am pretty much doing nothing. It's like I'm sitting down with the players and I'm doing like adult daycare jobs. I'm basically trying to like deal with people's mentals and stuff like that. Make sure that people are not trying to blow their brains out at the end of every scrim block. But it really just depends on the meta and how strong I feel my grasp on the concepts are. But then we had this issue where it's like whether or not I felt that my grasp was strong, I couldn't really talk at the end of the day. It's like we'd get into other metas and it's like the guy that talks the most always talks the most no matter what. So it felt really difficult to like fight for space on the Gladiators for sure.
I remember on season 3 especially, there was times where I felt fucking horrible as a coach because I was so insecure about how little I was doing and how little VOD I was doing, and I just felt like, I think especially when you have a mixed roster, because especially when the Koreans will go back to the Korean apartment and they'll talk Korean, I'm so like in my head I'm like, oh, they're shit talking me, they're shit talking me, they're shit talking me. And that feeling of like, when as a coach you have to find a problem because you want to coach, rather than just coaching when there is a problem, when there is like something obvious that comes to you, you coach it. But when I'm actually like, oh, maybe if I talk about this, that'll give me 5 minutes, and then if I fix this, it'll give me another 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden I've got a VOD review with Carpet, and then maybe he doesn't want me fucking fired at the end of the year. When you get into that mindset as a coach, it feels fucking horrible, really. Like almost no way to be a good coach. And I feel like you can probably ask Daniel in season 3. I feel like Team UK, Chris, even though we fucked, was so much sucked. Not fucked. We definitely didn't fuck. Only Canada fucked. I think Team UK, Canada Chris, must have been so much better than season 3, Chris, in terms of like the actual coach that I was.
When I think of season 3, it's like, I know you. Do you feel like our coaching was functional?
I felt that, we never did VOD reviews ever. Everything was done through individuals. But I
We did
felt
VOD
like
review in season 3.
I actually think, especially towards the end of season 3, I think we did way less team VOD review than you remember. Actually,
No, at the end we did almost none because it was, and I wasn't
not even
invited.
playoff meta.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, obviously that was its own thing, but I think even when we were good, I think actually KDG would do a lot with like 1 or 2 individuals, like actually like 75% of it. And
Moby would do a lot of individual as well. From my perspective, on the support side, because obviously Moby was coaching supports, there was like the KDG would come in with these overarching things, right? Where he'd have the video of all the clips mashed together, and he would be like,
by the way, most of the time.
Nice.
That was my job.
Like,
just
here
get
is
the clips and send it to KDG.
He would be like, here's a concept. Here are all these times where it's applicable, and you should use it in these situations. And I'd come out of this room being like, okay, when this thing happens, I know what to do now. And then there'd be the individual stuff, which would just be like fixing whatever you're doing wrong. And I felt like it was enough. It wasn't like there was VOD review every day or every other day, but the VOD review that there was super useful and had such good direction. And it was like really easily translated into scrims.
I think I agree. And what I felt was that the coaching that was going on, like especially Moby stuff, I would never see it because it would be done in a player's apartment, like in Korean, like so I'd have no chance to see it. But I was watching us play, I'm like, well, this is a fucking well-coached team. Like, there's no way to fucking doubt it, right? Like everybody knows what they're doing. Like sometimes when I'd hear our comms, but for me, it was like actually the way that I think you're right. The way that KDG breaks everything down into this kind of like almost like binary, like, oh, if we have ult advantage, we're going to play like this. Your job is to do this. Your job is to do this. If we have ult this, I still try to use that every single day in my coaching. That's where my core philosophy came from, like the way he coached that. But for me, it just felt like, oh, we are well coached. We don't need more coaching, but the coaching is not me even a little bit. And if I don't pull my weight, then I'm going to feel like shit. The player's going to hate me and I'm going to get fired. So that's kind of like where my mindset was.
I feel like the players can never hate you if you're on a losing team, even if you do nothing.
If you're a winning team?
A winning team, yeah.
Yeah.
It's as long as you're winning, no one's going to be like, this coach is fucking useless. Everyone will sort of agree that he doesn't need to do anything.
I mean, they'll just find like a positive in them, you know? They'll be like,
yeah, exactly. It brings good vibes. Like, Sato was doing literally nothing other than running a spreadsheet and booking the scrims. And I don't think a single player hated having him on the team or ever complained that he did nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it probably came from insecurity from me more than like actuality, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like the season afterwards was so much worse in terms of like dysfunctional coaching because the three-headed dragon was in full effect and there was like no generalized sort of like overarching feedback. It would be 3 different agendas going on.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think season 4 was way it was way harder for me up until I just got demoted to 2CP coach and I was really happy.
Yeah.
I think it's hard because I remember at the start of season 5 when it was the 3 of us, me, Chris and Spilo, I remember feeling really competitive with Spilo in terms of like who's giving more value to the team or who's doing. I never felt the same competition with Chris because I think I didn't have any intentions to take his job, if you know what I mean. Like, I think a lot of the time when you have these 3 coaches, you essentially just have 3 people who in their ideal world want to be head coaches. Whereas I was quite happy just to be part of a functional team. So I felt quite competitive with Spilo because he was sort of like on my level adjacent. But I think a lot of that went away because I wasn't there for the start of season 5 because we had some problems housing first. Once I actually went out there, and because we all work in the same house the whole time, I felt way less conscious about like, does anyone think I'm doing anything? Where it's like, well, I'm kind of in the same room doing something. You can see, you might not, I don't really do most of the reviews, but you'll see me talking to Chris or you'll see the work going on in the room. So that took a lot away compared to when I was doing it remote, especially on an earlier time zone where I do all the work. I tell Chris, then Chris does review. And there's a real way, I always have a perception that it's like, it probably looks like I do fucking nothing. And there's no way for the players to really intercept that. And like once I was there, it sort of went away. But I think when there's 3 people who want to be or think they want to be the head coach or have the clear idea, it gets really, really combative, I think.
I think in season 4 was when the players hated you the most, Chris.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
And that was like, everyone sort of realized that all the coaches had their own agenda. Like 9K was just trying to do everything at that point, but there was no. He was such a chaotic.
He was a mad scientist,
He was
right?
such a
he was
mad
smart,
scientist.
but he couldn't. It was just all fucking like.
It was
he has
just
a million
scattered
points.
brain.
Three hour
thrown
review.
He would
Andy.
open up
thrown
the
at the
board.
wall. Yeah.
He would
And it's
talk about it for 2 hours in front of
that's
you.
right. But then you'd get out of Vodri and you'd be like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" It's like you've been on TikTok for 2 hours, you know? Like,
Your brain would be mush after those VOD reviews. And then there was Moby, who was just like trying to stay in everyone's good books and just trying to be nice, is what it felt like at the time. It was like
a diplomat.
He really wanted to keep his job, was the feeling. And then obviously you had just started dating Yanni, so
yeah.
Trouble.
So yeah. I was just saying okay, here's the truth though. Every single esports player that gets like a girlfriend at the time goes through the same like couple of month periods. We had it on I'm trying to think, was it London this year?
Yeah. This year was like the year of the girlfriend.
Yeah, and it was like all of a sudden you just like people would not come out, like we wouldn't like hang on Discord anymore. Everyone would be like straight on with the girlfriend. There's like that fucking like first period when you start to get to know
it's a
someone.
disaster.
Where it's like, yeah, for me it was like, for me on that season, what I wanted more than anything was the second scrims were finished, I wanted to fucking go out and then spend it with my now wife. So at least it was a good investment for me, you know, like at least even if the Korean players on that team hate me, I fucking made it work. And what I wanted to do, which is what I did, to be fair, I would always be the first one in the office, and no one ever cared because the players would come in. The way on Fusion, the players would come in the second VOD started and stay 5 hours after. I would come in a few hours before and then leave immediately. So what the players saw was the second scrims were finished, Chris was like already with his fucking coat on out the door, like, see you later, guys, it's been a fucking pleasure. And they're gonna slave away, and Moby would obviously stay late, and he would be doing like loads of feedback. So I mean, to be fair, I can't even like lie. Like, I think for sure my priority wasn't fully on the team at that point. Especially when you're like, you have no idea what the fuck your job is. So it's like, oh, I guess I'm going to sit here for a few hours and look at some fucking clips and try and make something. When I was a 2CP coach, it was even easier because I would like make notes. Okay, this map was good. We need to fix our Hanamura second point rotation. I'd come in, fix it, and then like it would be done. You know, like I didn't have this like pressure that I wasn't doing my job because we were winning the maps or we knew what was going wrong in the maps. But yeah, I feel like ironically somehow I was actually a better coach in season 4 than season 3. But I think if you ask all the players, they fucking no way they would have agreed.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree.
Yeah, no, he was clocked out with his girlfriend, soon to be wife.
I mean, I was living with Chris, so I got the full clocked out experience.
You really got the experience. How terrible it was. Yeah. Is there anything else to circle back with on Gladiators, or because we've wound up in Philly Fusion, you know?
Travel all the way back.
I don't know. There was no drama this year. I felt like it was just kind of a depressed white mental asylum. Like the room is just no windows, just a white closed off room with no decorations, and it does feel like you're in a bit of a mental asylum when you just sit there and you have review for 2 hours and Smash screams at you and you go play scrims and you get DM'd by Smash about how shit you are at the game. And then you finish scrims and he's like, "Come my room, I have clips for you."
Was it you guys where you had the players were in one room during the scrims and the coaches were in another room?
The coaches had the other little hot room with no AC.
You could then hear the coaches mid-map.
You could hear Smash go, "Ah!" every time you make a bad play, and you could hear it through the door. Like, he would scream at anything remotely bad. He would do it in matches as well. Like, every now and then, he was generally better in matches, but you could hear him scream through the walls when someone made a misplay, and it's just like, it's the worst thing possible for your mental. But other than that, there wasn't like wasn't anything interesting that happened this year. I think it was the year before that had more spicy stuff to it.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even talked about like the actual the spiciness of the previous year, to be honest. I mean, I think it's pretty incredible that we can win the first two stages of the year, and then 2 players quit. You know, 2 players just like up and quit on us because we were such a even when we were doing well, we were just like the most culturally fucked team ever. You know, just like everyone was miserable. Like at least 3 people just perma hating each other like really badly. You know, we came into this year, and it was like with this year, I think we were actually fine culturally in the first half of the year. It's like sure, Lastro, he wanted to strangle Smash in his sleep, and Smash wanted to strangle Lastro while he was awake. But at the end of the day, like the culture was like it wasn't so bad. I feel like I actually got along really well with like everyone except for Yaki, and it's not like I didn't like Yaki. He was just a little NPC in the corner, like spinning in his chair. So he was just like hanging out, But
Every
it felt
team
like
needs a
everyone
client.
got along. Yeah, he's a full client.
But
Everyone got along pretty well. But then there was just like this cultural collapse at the mid-season because
we lost half the team.
Three
Well,
people
you
left.
kick the cultural leaders. I feel like that's been the theme from the Gator episode and this one is that actually everyone's going to only talk about like rosters in terms of like how good they were and how good the coaching is, but the actual cultural like side inside the team is so fucking important because it's so easy to just go down with the ship once things get bad.
I think
and that was
I
another
feel like our
reason why-
culture was terrible in season 4, was it? Season 4, season 5?
The Rhino season?
Yeah, the Rhino season. Because we
I
had
mean,
scrims and it was just like, Patty is running it down. Like, every scrim, Patty is running it down. Like, 1 in 10 he'll try, maybe. And then Rhino is perma pissed off at him. Kev is on his phone for half the scrim.
Yeah.
It's just
I
a
think
disaster.
like the Rhino Paddy Arns like holy trinity of mental illness was kind of like impossible to be a happy team culturally, to be honest, because it was like you had Rhino who would only ever give true effort in a match. You had Patty who I wouldn't say he wouldn't try in scrims. He was like another breed in scrims, It was like Patty was a good player in matches and the worst player in the entire universe in scrims, like different to Rhino. Rhino had like a pretty solid baseline. He just wouldn't really give it his all until it was match time because he didn't believe in the concepts of review or practice. Patty was different, where it was like, yeah, Paddy was different where he was genuinely like the worst player on God's green earth until he was in the match setting and the pressure was too great for him to like not be focused. And then Arns, who just hated everything in the entire world, Like, I'm pretty sure if he could have stood at the front of the office and just watched it burn with us inside, he would have smiled. It's important that we were all in that burning. But at the end of the day, the thing with this roster was that like if you put these guys in a match, all of this cultural shit, it didn't matter in the slightest, Everyone in the match setting was fucking crazy, Like everyone would really, really give it their all in matches. All of that shit wouldn't matter. Paddy would lock in and suddenly become good at the game again. And it was like, this was an insane match team, like truly an insane match team. But culturally, like from the scrim perspective, the Holy Trinity, you couldn't beat it.
Do you remember like the hour-long argument we had with like Ans and Rhino about that Ilios?
Yeah, of course, mate. I was the instigator. I was standing there feeding into the fight.
It's just horrendous. Like Ans wants to play one way, Rhino wants to play another way. Both of them disagree, and both of them will just absolutely refuse to even listen to each other. Like,
I mean, they just stood there like grinning like maniacs at each other as they call the other one a complete fucking moron. And it's like, I feel like both of your styles could work here, but you just have to meet in the middle once.
Yeah, just pick
like,
one.
Rhino, I think like if you stood 10 steps back, or Arns, if you stood 10 steps forward, this would work either way, But Rhino wants to hold up, and Arns wants to hold back, and it's like there's just no chance that we're gonna pick one. Apparently, both sides have a fucking debilitating mental illness and can not possibly resolve the problem.
It was so bad at the start. And I remember
sounds like modern politics. It's the same.
It was a bit political in the office sometimes.
I don't mean to get political or anything, but like, oh geez. But I mean, I think that team, like, it mightn't have had the best team culture in terms of people being getting along with one another, but there was something there, like there was a real belief like internally that the team was actually fucking good, like everyone really even
everyone
if
thought we could win.
Yeah, everyone thought we could win, and I feel like that was really important. I think we rolled into the next year, and like all of the 22 players, they kind of like really quickly, they could feel it immediately that our skill level was lower, and like if you didn't win with the 22 roster, I think you immediately knew that you were not going to win with the 23 roster. You know what I mean? Like you go into a couple of scrims and it's like, holy fuck, we just got 6-0'd by Houston and Atlanta, and it was like it wasn't even close. You know, it's like how many times did this happen to us last year? It felt like you know we had to be having like a Patty mentally unwell day for us to get 6-0'd. You know what I mean? They're like 90% of days. But
I was gonna say.
yeah. But at the end of the day, like you could just feel that the power level was lower. And then I remember we got into our first matches. I think it was regular season, not pro-am, and it was like I think we got 3-0'd by Houston and maybe Atlanta or something like that. And I just remember realizing like, holy fuck, we never got 3-0'd last year. Like we never ever got 3-0'd last year. And in 3 weeks, we've been 3-0'd more than we did all of last year. Like our skill level is just lower. Like there's just no question about it, you know? Like it doesn't matter how much we put time into review and stuff like that. Like we need to shift the goalposts here because I can see that the talent is lower. I sit on the player POVs and it's like, yeah, Shu probably would have killed 15 people here. But this guy's just like fumbling around with his buttons. No flame to the flex supports or whatever. That was just, you know, like Shu compared to any other player. Where are my hands in this webcam? Yeah, Shu compared to any other player, like there's a real significant difference in like how hard someone has the capacity to clutch the game for you. You know, like Shu is just the best mechanical flex support in the world. Like I feel like there's no question about that really. And it's like if you go from having that guy to having anyone else, you really need to reassess what you can expect from your flex support in terms of game winning performances.
Shu is unreal at Ana.
Yeah.
He's got to be the.
Well, Ana's been hard meta for 2 years, so it really helps.
He's got to be undisputed best Ana at this point, surely,
Not
right?
even close.
Yeah, like I don't think any.
What about him versus Alarm when we played with Alarm? Because whenever people mention
very
like, best
different.
of all time, I always felt like actually like Alarm was still by far the best player I've ever seen. Like on his POV, like
for sure, actually.
Across like almost every hero, I feel like people say Violet's the GOAT, but I was like, I'm 100% sure Alarm was better at every single hero than Violet.
Yeah, he was.
And
he was an unreal teammate as well. Like, that's
I mean, Violet's an unreal teammate too, just in a different way.
Yeah, very different way.
Yeah. Korean. Sorry, it's been a while since we've gone. Yeah.
What happened in season 5 then? Because obviously you lose people mid-season after going unbeaten. But
that's how you know it's
the
bad.
the whole second half
win everything and still retire.
Patty, right? Who aren't probably the cultural figures you're worried about losing.
But Patty was so good in matches. I think it's important that you have to realize he would just carry some of these matches so hard by doing these crazy flanks, and it would work so much better in matches. He would do that in scrims, and he would just die like all the time. I remember he would just run in, sprint in, die, and it'd be like, guys, I can't play the game. I don't know how to aim, and he would just like go nuts at himself.
I think the longer I wait, the more my perspective changes on Patty, where it's like, I've always been a big Patty defender, you know? I feel like Patty, he's like a really, you know, he's a genuinely like a really skilled player, you know? It's like when we're in that soldier meta, like a big part of the reason why we were winning versus Fuel, it was because Patty is really insane at that stuff, you know? I was watching some of these main DPS players, you know, the brain dead aimers playing soldier, and it's like, they truly do not play soldier like this, you know? I remember like hearing lots of main DPS players and just DPS players in general be like, oh, you know, you put anyone in that position and he will get the best soldier stats. But it's like, I remember watching Patty and I think, no, you fucking wouldn't, because half of you guys are brain dead and you just stand at the back of the map holding mouse 1, hoping that the enemy strafes into you really easily. So it's like, for sure in that soldier meta, I think like Patty, he was a huge part of the reason why we won. But I do think like you come in towards the second half of the season, already, like, you know, Patty was getting pretty heavily gapped by like Shy Lip at the mid-season tournament. So I don't think that Patty was like the big reason why we won mid-season, although he did have that fucking unbelievable blade on Ilios that just, you know, like that sealed the deal for us. So I do think that like, especially as we got later into Overwatch 2, you probably could have put a lot of players in Patty's shoes and we would have had a similar result. I think the sentiment that like, oh, the reason we lost is because we lost Patty, I don't think that's true, to be honest. I think the reason we lost is because I think we were just
went to a rush meta and we were just
it became rush meta and Ana left the meta for us, you know? We lost Ana, we needed to have Shu out of the roster or on Brig, and then we needed to have Shu on Kiriko, which is a hero that took a really long time for him to get any good at because he doesn't play the game, you know? So like, because Shu wouldn't play ranked and wouldn't learn Kiriko, I remember like, not to flame Shu because he's very close to being the perfect teammate, I'm going to be honest. But when Kiriko came out, I was insanely disappointed with what he was doing, you know, because it was like we knew that we were going to play him all the time, and the guy had like 5 hours of Kiriko in rank by the time we were knocked out of playoffs, you know. I remember looking at like Violet and Finn, and it's like these guys were just putting in fucking hours, you know. These guys had like 30-40 hours on the hero in rank, just like hard grinding it every day, and it's like Shu would shoot the practice range bots, but he wouldn't get like the natural play of like practicing triage and practicing the movement on the hero. You know, people got so naturally good at that hero by the time playoffs had rolled around, and Shu did not, because he wasn't like, he's just not the ranked guy. You know, he's not the guy that's going to play 100 hours of ranked to learn the hero, basically. So I think he was like a slow adopter on the hero. Our biggest carry player on the roster, arguably, was, you know, not very good at Kiriko by the time it came out, or by the time it mattered for playoffs. And
we had Kev on Reaper, and we were swapping our DPS all the time as well.
We did have a bit of a DPS problem where it's like we didn't. I think Kev could have been like the elite Reaper player, to be honest. I think like swapping them back and forth was really stupid. Like we knew that Happy was like insanely fucking weak on Reaper. Like he said himself he didn't want to play it. But Kev's got this thing where it's like, you know, Surgeon's the carry player. We need to put Kevin on the carry hero because Kev's really smart, really talented, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like we were putting Happy on something he was so bad at, like this flip-flop back and forth. We also spent forever trying to make Doom work, and we couldn't make it work. I don't know.
We were very late to the meta because we were like really heavily forcing Doom Tracer, I remember.
But the problem at the end of the day is that like it was consistent with Gladiators forever, is that we just had like a really understanding of how to play rush comps, you know? Lucio Queen, Lucio Ram, Lucio Winston, like all of these comps, we were just crap at them, you know?
We were better at the Lucio Ram because we had Dante and Lastro.
Yeah. You know, when we had those guys from a different team that understood macro, then we were better at those comps. And then we lost those guys, and you know, immediately default back to, well, let's try his way. Let's go around that corner. Like
yeah, wasn't the best.
It can happen. Yeah. Ah well.
It literally did.
It actually did happen. Yeah, it's not just that it can. It did. Is that Glad's done?
Oh,
yeah.
Unless anyone has anything else to add in.
Anyone
I don't
with
think
stories?
there's a lot
Anyone
to
just
add.
throw anyone under the bus?
Yeah, like, can you set some people on fire, dude? Like, you're being so like calm about it.
Who is there to set on fire other than Smash?
I mean, why can't you pour
Move this
gasoline on me or something? You know, like say something.
Can you at least give us,
dude.
give like a clickbait title that's like slightly racist, just to speak.
See, how do I hit slight racism without going full blown racism and getting myself cancelled?
I don't know.
You have to ask Gator. That guy, he's got that.
That guy's got a tightrope
master.
I feel like I liked all the Koreans that I worked with, other than Smash. as teammates.
Okay, so you probably didn't watch last week's episode, right? Because it's already been out a day. But we spoke a lot about like various things in like the mixed rosters. Do you ever think that? Do you think a mixed roster is ever likely to be as good as a full Korean or full Western roster?
No, there's no way. The difference, like even just from playing on Glads and then playing on Team UK, is so much nicer to be able to play these comps and actually have a full-fledged pan and know that everyone's understood what you've said. Like on Glads, it was a huge problem that you make a plan and some guy just walks across the map, and you're like, "Did you understand what I said?"
Nah,
and
this was literally just Yaki and Marvel. To be honest, like you say that like, oh, it's a mixed roster problem. I really don't think this is a mixed roster problem. I think this is like a mixed roster problem where you've got people that have like a really low level of English and they put like a low effort into improving it, you know? Maybe Marvel, he gets a bit of an excuse because he was like a mid-season pickup, so, you know, like expectation that your English level
there was
go
one
up.
where I was like, go left, and some guy just walks right alone and just
I don't know, like it would have been Yaki or it would have been Bab, you know? But Bab wasn't a language problem. Bab just had a bit of a listening issue, I would say, regardless of the language. But like Yaki was the one where it's like, I feel like there really was no excuse because, you know, he signed so long ago, and then he like really didn't make a visible effort to improve the level of his English, you know? Like he wouldn't hang out with the Western guys, and like at the end of the year his English level was still so comically low that you could say the most basic phrase to him in slowed down English and he still wouldn't get it. Like it was really, really difficult, I'd say.
I remember sitting next to him for his English lessons, and he would just have YouTube shorts on the side. Be scrolling while he's on his English lesson. And then he would come out and be like, fuck, I hate my lessons. Like, you're not really paying attention to your lessons, are you?
Because these mixed roster issues that you're describing, like these are issues that plague you in the first couple of months. They're preseason problems.
You have to put the effort in and constantly
that's what I mean,
work
you know?
on it to, like, if you just get 6 people who are the same nationality, you don't have to put any effort in. You can't have these problems.
Sure,
well, but the thing is, the only thing I would say too is I think season 3, we had a mixed roster, and that was maybe the most. Maybe London was actually had better team play. I think London did, but actually season 3, our team play was pretty fucking good, right? Like you remember some of those like Rhine metas. Everyone was on the same page, and it was like Carpe is basically fluent in English. His like English is I mean, yeah, he's actually fluent. Like Ivy didn't have good English, but he just had his.
He was a
Everyone knew
robot.
he was a robot. So everyone knew what he was doing with his walls up or down, you know. Sado's English was really fucking good. Alarm's English was really good. So actually, what we had was we had we had a mixed roster, but everyone's English was really good, and we could do exactly what Unta's saying, where actually it was no longer like people could listen, people could talk. It was actually really high level. But even on that mixed roster, even with everyone being as good as English as it was, the second thing started to go wrong.
We went full Korean mode, didn't we?
We go full like, Korean.
I'm just sat in the roster playing Mercy, not invited to the VOD reviews, stuck in my quarantine room, and it's just like, this is miserable.
Mafia. They start to only talk to each other. Like even then, I feel like with a mixed roster, you need the Koreans with really solid English and who are really committed to it, and you either just need infinite success, or you need Koreans who are super bought into the concept of I need to keep talking to the Western guys. Because I don't know, did we feel it in season 4 too a little bit when we were in Korea that sometimes it was like,
there was a huge divide, I thought.
We would really like to be able to go out with the Koreans in Korea, you know, because we would when you're in America, you guys probably had this too, like on Gladiators and Valiant. Like you'd have to like look after the Koreans a little bit, right? Especially when they were like new, everything was different. So if you need to like take them shopping, you need to do this, you would invite them out. I think one thing that we felt, maybe you guys bored me because I was on my own God's plan back then. But like it was like we would really fucking love it if the Koreans were like looking after us the same way that we would try to look after them.
I felt like when we went to Korea, we didn't get looked after, apart from Stella and Roston. Stella was incredible. It would be like midnight and I want a pizza, and she's there. Fried chicken, no problem. Because we couldn't do anything. We didn't have our own bank account, so we couldn't order food or like do any of that stuff, right? It was just you have to get someone to help you.
Yeah. I think the Western guys on that team, especially whenever Poker was eventually there, we actually were pretty good at especially when you had Roston, right? We could just kind of go out and do our own thing. So it wasn't like we were like stuck indoors. But yeah, I felt like the mixed roster can work, and I've seen it work, but I've also never seen it succeed through any significant portion of adversity without them turning on each other in like a us versus them kind of way. At least in my relatively brief experience in mixed rosters.
Do teams ever succeed through adversity, with the exception of like London season 1?
I would say this season London too. I think.
I mean, like we're talking like pretty relative levels of success at that point.
But there are loads of full Korean teams who have done it. Like Dallas, in the year that they won, they came second in the first tournament. Then they were shit in mid-season, right? Like that's pretty big adversity,
I guess. But you know, it's like they can chalk that up so easily. You know, they can be like, it was a Zen meta, and we have Feel the Geo.
But that would usually start a Mafia off.
Yeah, I feel like this. You're right. Obviously, we only finished top 6 this year, so it's not like we had massive success. But I think the way that our team stayed together when things were really shit this season, I think if that's a mixed roster or a lot of other rosters, I think that's fully fucking exploded. Like
that's fair enough. I guess you would have seen more significant roster changes than cutting your bench. In a normal team,
you would
have seen like the death of Dante or something.
Like it was bad and tense. Obviously, can't help but be when you're just losing all the time and nothing you're doing working. But it never felt like, I don't know. It was divides, but it felt like it could have been worse.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it be worse.
Season 3, so much worse. You know, in terms of like the actual divide and the tension between everybody, and like season 3 with London, there was like friendships ending. You know, like people had been friends for a long time, and like rifts starting between them. Whereas when we went back to the core in season 6, and results started improving as well when that helps. But everyone came back together. Have you guys
talked about Lethal and all the people that you've tried to add into the London roster over the couple of years that just haven't meshed?
It never fucking works.
We spoke about it a little bit. Yeah, for us it was really difficult because I think one thing I love about those 5 guys I fucking love them to death because they are so unbelievably fucking bought into the fucking Chris TFO way of playing that like anyone that comes in with like different ideas, they get chewed out a little bit. Like, oh, if they wanted to push around an Esperanza corner, instead of it just being Hattie, you would get 5 people saying, "What the fuck are you doing, bro? You can't do that. Like, we can't play like that." And I felt like what I hoped when I brought in Lethal and Sky, the reason I picked them was I thought that I'm not gonna have to convince them that our system works, that like to just kind of trust the process. And I feel like with Sky, I don't think he necessarily like didn't trust the process, but I think he just struggled on like maybe like a skill level, and then like confidence got to him, and then things went wrong. But with Lethal, it was a lot more like Lethal was a lot more. I don't know like who the example of one of the players that you've just spoke about, but he was very much like, no, I think we should do it this way. It was very difficult to explain the concepts of how we wanted him to play. And I think if you have 4 guys that are playing like the London way, you have one guy doing something differently, and then we're losing. The 4 of them are just going to fucking eat this guy like immediately.
I
and
feel
I
like
don't
it'd be
think that they
impossible
were.
to come into the London roster after that first year.
I think the same was really true for both Sauna and like there was for both of them. There was just like a bit of division early on in terms of the ideas or how they wanted to play certain situations, and it was the same thing. I think there was overly harsh reaction from everyone in terms of like, it just can't be this way. Like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. You can't do it like this. And then all of a
Khan
sudden,
especially, right?
yeah, like
Khan was so good, but the shit he was doing was so Gladiators that we were just like, I don't want to fucking play with this guy.
he actually
like,
got rejected from society within the London house for it.
He would somehow, I mean, actually, Sauna was still there. They would actually both, and a lot of times, be our best player in the scrim and still the first person that we would cut. Because it was like, if they don't, like, I think with Khan, sometimes he just wouldn't talk and give effort. And one thing that's true about London is, fuck me, we try hard in scrims. Like, actually, like the leadership from like Hadi and Landon between them, like, is so infectious that people genuinely don't have like patty pan days in London ever. Like every day is genuinely fucking like trying at 100%. Like Hadi is so good at that in terms of that guy literally never has a bad day.
Effort.
Yeah, like unbelievably professional, and he keeps the whole team in line with stuff like that. And when we did get someone, Khan wasn't someone. I really wanted Khan to be fucking happy to join London because I felt like I'd rescued him off an unbelievably fucking sinking ship. You know, I felt like I'd fucking saved this guy's life. And Khan did not look at it the same way. Khan looked at it like, well, I think if we're on the high ground, we should just drop and push them. And I was like,
pack your fucking bags,
really
mate. Get
similar
out.
to the Esperanza situation.
It really is, yeah.
I feel like Khan especially is the big one because he was so good at heroes we never had someone particular like in the Zen and the Anna, and he was truly, in many ways, probably like the highest skill player London have had on like our iterations. But just
when we signed Khan, I thought, oh, this season couldn't have gone better. We rescue it. We signed this world-class European player him and Landon, and like Landon Admiral Khan is actually such a good back three if you want a Western backline because they actually cover each other's hero pools unbelievably
Glance
well.
was
Landon
the example we
plays the
used.
the brig. Yeah, right.
We thought we had a Glads model
copy.
backline where Landon would be skewed, Khan would be Shu, and then Admiral would be you.
Yeah.
Well, on paper it sounds good, but it just sounds like you've got such a set style that it's going to be so hard to deviate from that in any other meta.
What I guess I became, and maybe this is like maybe Pep Guardiola is not necessarily what I'm trying to compare myself to, but the way he coaches at Man City is if you don't fit in immediately, like if you don't join Man City and all you try to do is play the fucking Man City way, just I don't give a fuck, he gets out. And I feel like I needed to do a much better job of my people skills of like integrating people into the London way. But I also really wanted, like, I felt the same when I fucking rescued Sauna. I wanted people to really fucking, like, I feel like people were like, oh, I'm just going to get to play. Whereas I really wanted people to come in with the mindset, I really want to fucking play for London. I really respect this team. I really want to fucking play their way. And it was like, people were kind of like, they weren't happy to join London. They were just happy to be gone from their other situation. And I felt like, the 5 of them that played the season before, like they all have London tattoos like on their hearts, you know, like they're so fucking unbelievably loyal to like the team that it's really difficult. And I think it's certainly difficult to come in one week and have this fucking like patriotic love of London Spitfire if you've never played for them. But I feel like that clash between 5 guys who would fucking die for the badge, and then those guys that wouldn't, it was really difficult for us to integrate.
I feel like if there was going to be one more season of the league, London was one of the teams that I'd have loved to join, because it's like the whiplash of going from Fusion to Glads. I always hated the fucking go first. I argued a lot at the start with Face about it, but I sort of submitted eventually.
Back down.
You just get beaten down, and then he's like, the rest of the team's going to play like this. You've got to. I think I had to buy in, but it was never like how I loved playing the game. I remember on Fusion, it's so satisfying to disengage ults. There's nothing more satisfying than just cheating ults out of the enemy team. We started to do it on Team UK, and it just feels so scummy, but it works so well.
I remember so many situations in London where, like, celebrate like we won a fight because some game management situation went our way. Like, they nanobladed us, but they're on defense and we're on attack. And we're like, we've got them. We've got them, the idiots. There's no way we lose now.
I remember hating playing against you guys just because of that. That was the way that you played the game, and it would piss me off so much. But it would have been so nice to play for.
I think when we played you in playoffs, I think the main reason we beat you was we fucking, like, every Kyriel, we just fucking disengaged that shit.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
playing, and we would like 5-0 your primals, and we were just in a situation where you were playing like 2 ults versus 5 every time.
Yeah,
you would win a lot of the neutrals because your like DPS and like overall like skill levels was really fucking high. But the second it was a 4 ult versus a 4 ult fight, we just fucking like mowed you down because you were just fucking headbutting the keyboard, and we were like actually fucking following the elaborate like 12-step plan.
Even when Glads was, #terrible at the Junker Queen meta or whatever, like in the first week we lost 2-3s to Houston Outlaws and Dallas Fuel. Like these were the top teams in that meta, even when we were allegedly bad at it. But like we would always lose these clutch fights that were big ult trades because we just were incapable of getting value from any of the ult fights. Like our neutral fights, they were okay because we had like these insane mechanical players making it work. But if a fight was long, if a fight had multiple layers, it was over because we just didn't have the ability to win that layered fight. And then I remember we play you guys, and it's like I think it's a Eichenwald, and Hardy shows up on the screen. As soon as Shu sees a player, he presses his ult, and then Hardy just runs away, and it's all over. Like we just lost a fight to ult economy, and we haven't even done anything yet. Like there was never any of this like emphasis of like, oh, we need to fight the neutral, we need to make them use a skill before we use an ult. It was just, let's press our button and kill them right now. They're here, and when we press a button, they're going to come into us because that's what we would do. Like.
The second we hear an old voice line, we've got to press one more Q and just outscore.
The truth is, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And Gladiators, we were never fucking cheating ults. It was just unbelievable. I don't think we cheated a single ult in the whole season, right?
Yeah.
That's why you signed Kai, presumably, right?
Just went into Google and typed in best Overwatch player at cheating.
I don't know. Maybe that could be the title for this episode. If you ain't cheating, you're trying. I mean, there's layers to that too, because everyone in Overwatch League, not just on their girlfriends, but everyone just cheats perma in Overwatch League too.
Yeah.
It's like I can't think of a single match in the past 4 years where both teams haven't known what the other guys are doing. Like
I remember going to Fusion and 9K adamantly being against VOD leaking and sharing and stuff, and we were just like, we'll just fucking do it anyway.
Yeah, if you got one coach that doesn't fuck with the VOD leaking and VOD sharing and stuff like that, then the other 10 people on the roster, one of them is probably figuring it out, And it's like it's genuinely impossible, like there is no team so unpopular that there's not one guy that doesn't have a friend on the other team. You know what I mean? Like
some teams try to have Honor and Dodge doing it, but there's always like
there's one dog. There's always one dog.
There's always someone who wants to actually fucking win. Like, I feel like if you want to win, why would you not leak VODs and share VODs? It doesn't make sense.
It's just because the enemy team's doing it, so it's like, I guess it's.
But even if the enemy team's not doing it, it's just a free advantage. Like, why would you not take it? Well, no one has ever been punished for VOD leaking. There's like the Overwatch League. Everyone could have proved that VODs were leaked. And it was only people in contenders who got banned for it for some reason, because they were idiots enough to share the codes.
I mean, it was so fun. Like you'd finish a scrim with LA Valiant, and it's like no one would press the share button on their scrim codes on OPR because everyone in the lobby got the code already. You know, you got it from spec, but you'd finish a fucking scrim with LA Valiant, and it's like these guys are so dog shit. Genuinely, the most worthless practice ever. And you just see all 6 codes have the code, all 6 maps have the code generated. It's like, oh geez, I wonder what they're doing with this. You know,
the whole of North America have seen this scrim now.
Absolutely unbelievable, dude. It's like you couldn't finish a fucking Nixel or Valiant scrim without seeing 6 generated codes. Like, oh, thank you for that. You know, like not only did you waste our fucking time with practice, these guys finished higher than us in the standings, by the way. Not only did you waste our fucking time with the practice, but then you shared the code too. Like, could you at least just could you just screenshot the VOD and show your friends that way? Like, you had to do it the most blatant way possible. Like, I can see it.
It's just no one cares about it though.
I don't know, dude.
I'm fully bought into
There's no way to
Jerry.
prove it. Most people are just like they like go in Discord and just fucking like write the comps down or something. There's actually no way to stop it. And, I mean, it happens in professional sports too. Like there was a one in England where they fucking caught a spy at the other team's training, and there's been loads in the NFL and shit like that. And it's literally if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, and it's just. I think there's almost no way. The only way to fucking eradicate is to stream scrims, and then every team sees what you're playing anyway, and then everyone's on an even playing field, and then
even now people won't stream scrims.
Yeah, well, people want to talk funny in their scrims, you know, or people are anxious about having their team environments, you know, leaked.
The thing I don't get about Kev is he won't stream scrims, but he is the most.
He never says
anything bad. He will never say anything bad. But
Kev's just a pussy, mate. Kev's just a pussy. You know this. You say like you don't get it, but it's like, come on. He's just a coward.
He's just a shy little guy.
I mean, it's like that guy spent like 2 years being eligible for the Overwatch League, just not joining because he was scared to have a camera pointed at his face. He was scared to get on an airplane. Like, it's no surprise that he's averse to change here too, you know?
Yeah.
I reckon I'll just start streaming them or record
them.
Do
it. Like, and what's he? No, just
record them and then stream it 2 hours after it's happened, so he can't complain.
We'll just see what
he's not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna go play ranked now because he can't fucking find a game in EU ranked. Like if he queues, he'll queue for an hour and then pop into me. Like he's gonna play the script.
I don't get why everyone's. I think even like Twisted Minds refused to stream scrims, and then SR Peak Checker are apparently also against it. Not that we could scrim.
Even though they've got Cloudy, dude. He was like the original guy. Yeah, I spoke to Cloudy too, but yeah.
But I think Gumba's joined them now, and it's just.
Then it's over, right?
Yeah.
Yep. The regime.
They're all bought in.
I think in theory, if everyone shares, if you think you have a better team, then trust yourself to then figure out a better solution. Like, I'd rather play a game where both teams know what the other one's going to do, and have like going in blind is the worst thing. That's so hard.
Going in blind is just like sometimes you lose to RNG. You roll out on Koth and they're just on a better comp, and it's like, we lost. Like, but at least there's some sort of you can bluff and play certain comps in your scrims and do whatnot, and then change it in matches. There's some sort of strategy you can do there, but blind is for sure the worst way to play the game.
I think it's really overrated, the actual ability to counter and like everyone knew what we were going to do on London for long parts of both seasons. It was never a surprise.
I think it was definitely on Koth you could counter way better.
Like first fights, like 1 or 2 heroes.
First fights,
there,
like the set plays.
We did it on Glads a lot for sure. It's just like, oh, we know they're going to play like this. Let's roll out this side of the map, and then they just can't play the game.
Even then, I feel like I remember we did it to Shock once where we knew where Sam was going to play on Hanzo, so we literally just all peeked it at the same time first fight, and he just died immediately.
Yeah,
it was like it's a really like niche and rare things that happen. It's not like a series defining or even a map defining.
It's just the same as cheese, right? Forge sharing is just another cheese.
I guess.
cheesy strat.
Our man on the ground is getting more and more ingrained in the culture.
I got a bit of a sunburn today. I think it was fucking hot when I walked to the office. I think I'm burned. I feel like I'm slightly going red. But yeah. Okay, so Saudi E-Leagues this week. We've got a couple of, fresh faces on the analyst desk for the English broadcast. They've been bringing us quality analysis. They're up there and over there, I think. No, that way. I got to point the other way for the webcam. But yeah, So we've got our men on the ground doing their best to stall through a couple of production breaks and things like that. But I'd say the bracket has pretty much gone as expected. That
What do you reckon?
F16 team.
Twisted versus Geek.
I think DK actually looks fucking good now. Like really fucking good.
Landon is just the best BAP in the world. No?
It really is,
100%.
dude. It really is. Yeah.
Oh, Michael.
Yeah, I'm super. I'm super GK pilled actually. I think like maybe they just get fucking 3-0'd. But I don't know. I actually think there's a really good chance that somehow fucking Twisted go from winning the World Cup to losing the fucking Saudi tournament. And yeah, I think the game actually should be pretty good. I think a lot of the games we've had so far haven't either been like the most like entertaining or the most like high level or even like close. But my feeling is that I think we're definitely going to get 2 Twisted versus GK games, one in winner bracket and one in grand final. But I actually think they look both pretty fun. And yeah, it's pretty 50-50, I think.
Yeah, I would say that GK definitely looks like they're just like consistently getting stronger and stronger. You know, like their macro looks really, really good. And I don't know, that's got to be a thing where it's like initially I looked at the rosters and I thought like, who's Teenage, who's TVNT, but these guys are actually like really solid on their heroes.
There are loads of people who have just like randomly hit rank 1 who you've never heard of.
Yeah, I mean AOY, Oi, whatever his name is, like he's really high rated. I think the other Lucio, because they like swap into Lucios, he's also really high rated.
Yeah.
But like the real like the sleeper agent, you know, like I trust a Saudi tank to play Sigma, to be honest. You know, it feels like every tank player in Saudi is a Sigma one trick. So, you know, like TVNT being all right at Sigma, like I can believe that, you know. But this teenage Rojo, whatever his name actually is, he's actually nuts. You know, like he's actually had like really, really strong performances throughout all the matches.
Quartz 2.0, right?
Yeah, he's mini
really,
Quartz, you know, he's mini Quartz. So I think that, you know, like them, they have a really strong roster, you know, Checkmate, Insane May, Landon, you know, probably he's that bapper basically. So I think that this is like down to be like an absolute fucking dogfight of a match, to be honest, or series of matches, because there'll probably be 2 of them, you know.
Yeah.
We'll probably play GK twice, one way or another. So I think it'll be like it'll actually be a good viewing experience in the Saudi E-Leagues rather than the 15 minutes of pause into 3-0 into replay the map into yeah. So like I think like you'll actually see some really high level Overwatch in the finals,
no,
like
I
the bracket
so
and then
too.
the final again.
Yeah.
I think especially when I watched GK play, I was like, they just look like a real team. Like in terms of their ult game, their management of everything. They have a set plans for a lot of the maps and stuff. It was like they're actually a honest team.
I feel like every other Saudi E-League was pretty much predetermined by roster, right? There was maybe one other time where it was like 0-1 against Twisted or something.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Falcons, yeah.
But even then, I'm pretty sure the final wound up being a 4-0, even though it was like close, it was still a 4-0.
This year it feels super competitive. Like all the times before this, there was just a predetermined winner, and now even the shitty teams, like there's good competition because the amount of imports that have come in, right?
Yeah, but I think the thing is like the imports, like, you know, this Someone Merit team, like they're like Someone and Merit are fucking crazy, you know, like those guys are literally doing God's work every match, you know, like you watch and it's just like the kill feed is 90% Someone doing absolutely everything all the time, but it's like he really is just like, you know, he's dragging some pretty fucking heavy weights around his feet.
They just good for roster because they're having to have Merit play flex DPS because it turns out Goku got played the game.
Goku's a Pharah player, no?
Good.
Yeah, he's a fair.
But like Merit's playing Echo and Tracer, and he's doing pretty well considering. I don't think I've ever seen Merit. I've probably seen Merit play Tracer, but like May and Echo, never seen Merit on those heroes.
I saw him on Echo for some reason. I was like, what is going on here?
They've got like a tank player playing flex support for him. Done okay on Ana, to be fair, but not so much on BAP. But their roster's just a mess. So you compare that to GK, where Landon gets to play Baptiste 100% of the time.
Checkmate
gets May 100% of the time. Be really happy with how this meta and your like, picks have worked out for you.
I don't know. Maybe yeah. I don't know. How many years of Twisted won?
Well, yeah, I think that the roster's been apart. Like, there's been times where like Libda and UB on different teams, or like KSA's on a different team. So, but like some version of like one of the players on this roster has literally won every single season, since ever. So they've basically always won them. played under different orgs and stuff. I feel like if you asked at the start of the tournament, you'd probably say Twisted are going to win it easily. But I feel like the GK players have actually looked so much better than anyone expected that it looks like it can actually genuinely be pretty competitive.
I mean, I think after, even in like our previous episode, I feel like we didn't have this much like pro GK sentiment, you know? After watching this first week of matches, it's like, oh wow, like GK actually looks really strong. Like they were just fucking having their way with Rock or F16 or whoever it was.
Landon is
Might have been
actually
both
just
of them.
tearing up EU ranked. He's I can't overstate how much of a freak he is on BAP.
I mean, he's really like on a completely different level to anyone else. You know,
It's unbelievable. Like I got against him in my game, and I'm just like, who the fuck is this guy? Like Farquad or something?
He has some shitty names, actually,
I was just like,
unbelievable.
this random guy in my ranked games is just destroying everyone, and there's like no one even comes close to him. He's just gold damage every game I see him, just doing unbelievable things. And it's like, all right, he's just the best player in the world. And then you realize it's Landon. It's like, okay, like maybe he was just carrying London the whole time.
Actually, for sure.
I think one of the reasons we were able to reach such a high level of play is like Landon got so much better, and Landon got so much better, especially in matches to the end of last. Really able to like, put in like his best performance every time we played a match, and it made such a huge difference, especially when we're playing against all these dive teams and stuff. If your BAP can just milk his cooldowns for literally forever, never pocket people through
just
impossible
always
situations.
has shift up.
Yeah, it makes it so much harder for the enemy to huge swing factor for.
I mean, I remember hearing, like, as I showed up at the London house to, you know, bum around for a month in the playoffs area, you guys were like, oh, you know, a bit worried about Landon in these, like, high-pressure matches, you know, like, if we go down to lowers, it's just going to be over, you know, like, the nerves are going to be too much for him, and then we load into the matches, and it's like, the guy's just fucking carrying out of this world, you know? It's like we get to the LAN, and we're in lowers, and he's just dominating, like, on stage, in front of everyone, highest pressure possible, and he's just fucking taking over, like, genuinely unbelievable. Like all of the stuff that you see from him in scrims where he's waiting until he's 20 health to press the shift, his lamps like the absolute latest timing possible, like max value on every cooldown, like he still managed that all the time. So I think like really he's someone where it's like, you know, maybe if there was this initial sentiment of like, oh, he's not good in high pressure, he's going to be a nervous player, like he's conquered it, you know, fucking box breaths be damned, you know, like he's figured out the system.
Genuinely. He did. I think he's one of those players. So many players are like struggle with the pressure and just bury their head in the sand and just like accept a career where they never like play at their full level. But the way that fucking like Landon like thinks, he's like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm really fucking good at this, but I struggle under the pressure. Him and Hadi used to speak a lot about like different like fucking breathing techniques, whatever. It made an unbelievable difference to his performance. And now, I mean, actually, in this meta, looks like the best player in the world, like unironically, right? Like, it's not just like the best BAP, but like actually, fucking.
Yeah, it's so OP having him on your roster.
Yeah.
Like, he's the sole reason GK can win. Otherwise, there's no way this roster would do it. Even if you put like Majid in his place, I would say Twisted's going to win 100% of the time.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just like the Landon diff is too much.
I think
I mean, you go.
Especially like when I think to like when we first got Landon onto the roster in London, and obviously he joined like through a difficult situation, so got a late start on playing even playing Overwatch 2 and all of this, and it always felt like he went through the period of initially being very nervous, and there was a period of not believing he was nervous, probably, where like he would say, oh, I feel good, I feel excited. You know when somebody says it and you just I want to believe him, but I don't quite buy into it.
I felt the same way with Cal in his first match. He was like, oh, I'm fine. But he looked so nervous and like his comms was so different. And I feel like I've never really played with anyone who was a match day choker.
No, you did.
Did I?
Team
UK.
No.
Team UK?
Screamy McScreamerson.
Oh, little Carpe.
Jayhawk Lee, yeah.
I don't think he choked though.
I think he panicked massively under the in the big fucking games.
Everyone always thinks of him as like a clutch player though. Was it just that Legion Night Market clippers? I don't think he choked out of control.
No, I don't think he chokes like every official, but I think that especially that season 3, whenever it was like one of those grand finals, I think he would really like. I don't think he would necessarily play bad, but he would start to get so into it that he would just be fucking screaming. And I think
I loved screaming Carpe though.
They like set panic in the team. We never won once you started Scream. Like it was never like, oh great, Carpe's screaming, now we've got it. You know, it was always like, oh, it's like, oh, this is the beginning of the end now. Yeah, so I don't think he's a choker. But I also feel like he was the one on Fusion where I was like, oh, it's a fucking final. Ah, fuck, like I need to watch him, you know.
Yeah, I feel like all the finals we lost, maybe the Paris one, I don't remember. There was one of them that was winnable, right? But the rest of them weren't.
Paris was super winnable.
Yeah, like the Paris one.
And then the shock in the Winston Genji Zarya meta, we lost 4-2, but I think it was semi-winnable too.
Maybe.
It was, yeah. Playoffs was not winnable, to be fair.
Yeah, playoffs was. We could have won if we had Poco in, maybe. I think we picked the wrong direction, but we were fucked anyway that we did it.
We should have picked the Sombra Reapers that we should have played. You can make it work.
We lost all faith in that comp, though.
You can always make it work in Overwatch.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, when I speak to Landon these days, I like believe it when he tells me he's excited to play and like he's ready for it. He feels like now like he's become.
He actually faked it until he made it, you know?
He literally did. But then it wasn't the faking, it was the addressing the
he
addressed the issues until he made it.
See, I think Cal is in a similar boat because apparently in Team Canada scrims as well, he was slapping on Lucio, and it got to match day and he was just like perma picked, and it wasn't looking so good. And I felt the same way on Glads, where he was just like slightly different in matches to how he'd be in scrims. I don't know if you remember the first week of scrims or so, Max.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I felt like
a different beast.
I felt like when I saw him at the beginning for those scrims when he joined the team, and then when I came back for the final week, it was like two different humans, you know? It was like he joined, and he's like hard comming, he's saying what he wants to do everywhere, I want to play here, I want to play here, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then I come back and it's just some dude chilling at the back of the map with his mouth closed, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you really...
He's so scared.
We really broke you like we broke everyone else, huh, buddy? Like it was just awkward.
Yeah, the difference between first week Cal and last week Cal is so crazy, I thought.
Yeah.
That's the Gladiators guarantee right there.
No, but like most of the guys were pretty consistent, you know, like you could trust him for a match day to be the same, you know, but like Cal was the same in the matches as he was in the scrims at the end. You know, like he was just quiet all around. Whereas at least in the initial matches he was working.
Break
he was
you.
talking. Yeah, we will break you. Well, there's actually one person in particular that will snap your fucking mind in half, but you know.
Yeah. I think Smash is the only coach I've ever wanted to punch. I think you can get that award.
Title. We're doing it. Dude.
Yeah, actually a really good
Gladiators special. I think Smash is the only coach that I've wanted to punch.
It's true. Do you remember? There was one time where I just walked out because I was at the point of if I had to listen to him for another few minutes, I was gonna hit him.
Was it a review? Or was it just a
scrim? It was like in between maps and a scrim. He just started talking and it just pissed me off.
Well, to be fair, I'm segmented in a different room, so I'm not entirely sure whether I saw it or not, to be fair.
Space definitely saw it because he had been DMing me all day, and then he just said something that just pissed me off. I don't think I've ever been that mad before in scrims. Gladiators unlocked like a new side of me.
On Fusion, did the coaches message you during scrims?
No, I don't think so. And if it was in between maps. The worst part about Smash, it would be mid-map. It'd be like mid-fight, and you'd be getting fucking DMs.
I mean, to be fair, I'm a sucker for doing that too, just for different reasons, I think.
Yeah, you would just do it to take the piss.
No, I think it's like, unless it's like, oh, you can swap after you die or something. I'll sometimes message that, but I very rarely mess. I'd rather just say it over the mic.
Yeah. The only time I get onto doing it is he joined our Exo scrims a couple of days ago, and he's just DMing me to do the dumbest thing possible and just straight throw the scrim mid-fight. He's just like, go at her if you die. Like...
I missed one block and Hunter's there.
You missed one block of scrims and you're already replaced. You're out of here.
I think the only other person I ever really did it to was Spark, and it was most of the time just start talking, you fucking prick. Shout out loud.
Nah, Spark Like, are you aware that you've been holding your ult for 13 minutes? Like, it's just fucking unbelievable.
Spark map's ending soon, please. Please get out, Spark.
Not a thought behind those eyes.
As far as a role player goes, though, he can play the fucking role.
Oh, yeah. He can
stand here.
Press mouse one when the head kind of crosses over.
That's all you need from a hit scan player.
True.
It helps if they have legs.
As long as they hit the shot. If they just stand still, if he hits the shot, then he wins, you know? The Kai mentality.
Yeah, I mean, it really helps if when, like, say, Genji looks at them and then dashes on them, if they press WAS and D, maybe left shift too. But, like...
I reckon you can just
should
stand
DM
there
him
and
that
shoot.
when the Genji looks at him. Quick, S, D.
I'm pretty sure Smash would have done that at some point.
Really weird decision to press A here, Dante, when you quite clearly should have pressed D, but okay.
That's basically the level we were at by the end, so...
Yeah.
Alright, let's get some user questions in. So, there's probably like 2 categories here, where there's a few quick-fire ones for Astro, and then maybe a few longer ones. So, people seem to really dig the fact that you're British, and it might be a theme for some. So,
okay.
UK takeaway or US takeaway from Stacks fan?
I don't really get UK takeaway. The only stuff I'll get is Chinese, which is 100% better than American Chinese, I think. But other than that, US takeaway. There's just so much in LA. Popeyes especially.
I feel like the English Indian takeaways are genuinely... I've never experienced anything like it in the US or Korea.
And kebabs as well.
Yeah, huge gap in kebab and India.
Yeah. UK food, it's just the best, even though like none of it's ours, you know?
I love all the best UK food, like kebab and Indian and Chinese.
Yeah, fish and chips is alright too. I think the standard UK takeaways are definitely better. I had a night out 2 nights ago, had a kebab, it was unreal. Can't get anything like that in the US.
No chip shops. Alright.
Yeah, it's terrible.
North or south of England?
South.
I
Fuck you guys. I've never lived in the north, but the south has got to be better.
Yeah, if you enjoy paying 4 times as much money to hang around with worse people, it's way fucking better, actually.
I think I'm actually a north. I was born in Kent, but I think I'm actually a north convert. I guess I'm a Nottingham convert. Maybe it's a different debate over whether or not.
Would you class Leicester as north? Because that's the furthest north I've got any family.
Really?
I actually don't know where it is. I'm kind of like I'm like a north purist. I pretty much only include Newcastle as north, and then everyone else is fucking south.
In my head, north is like Manchester above.
Yeah. Actually, I like Manchester's actually a pretty good city, so I'm letting it in.
I just haven't really been there that much. It just looks a bit miserable up there, you know.
Okay.
Right. Then from 36. How did you remain playing at such a high level for?
Well, that's a debatable opinion, but
what do you think?
I don't know. I only had one hero that I had to play, so I had one hero that I had to play at a high level, and then one hero which I had to play at a decent level. So I didn't have a lot to learn. When it came to practicing, DPS is a lot harder. You know, you've got like 15 different things you need to learn, all this stuff, and then tank is like the game just changes when Overwatch 2 comes out, so it's so difficult to transition. But I just had to play 2 things. Pretty easy.
Some of your players didn't even make it through half a season at a time.
Yeah, it was I don't know. Main support's an easy role to play.
Right, that's actually a perfect segue to this next question. Anima. How much do you believe main support players in the modern scene should be expected to be at Baptiste, Hiriko, Zen, Alara, other heroes more support? Seems like there's a trend toward heroes being paired regularly and more demand on a main support player role than maybe traditionally.
See, I think it's just Mickey that main supports need to learn half of those. There's like, even if you got players like Chorong or just Chorong specifically, where he can play some of these other things. Like, he can play the Kiri and the Zen, but even when he's playing it, he's nowhere near as good as actual flex supports on these heroes, you know? Like, I'm not convinced it's worth sinking that much time into unless you've got the natural talent that the flex support players have.
I feel like the only thing I would say is, as we move away from Overwatch League, teams aren't going to have free supports anymore because everyone's going to want to. Well, because I think
prize pools,
money,
right?
Yeah, that's it.
People
But splitting it 6 ways instead of 5 isn't a massive difference for the majority of people.
And yeah, I don't know. And then if you get a coach and you do this, I feel like actually, if we don't get like really decent org support, I feel like a lot of the time teams are going to want to play it as 5. Where
it doesn't affect anyone other than yourself, right? Like, the other 4 people, if they're starters, I'm just giving my money to a flex support player, and they just get like another share based on the playtime. Then it doesn't affect anyone else. And obviously, I don't want to be playing flex support. Maybe BAP, if you really need me to play it, I can play BAP. But the stuff like Zen, Ana, and Kiri, there's no point me even trying. Like, it's just brain dead to even put me on these heroes half the time.
I mean, I think there's something to be said for like these really flexible supports in that, like,
I know that
in the past two times, like, that the championship's been won in Overwatch League, like, it's really just been a meta gamble, right? Like,
yeah,
it's helpful to be able to swap between like Lucio, Brig, blah blah blah, but having like that broader range of flexibility, like, you're always going to get dominated on like the hard flex support heroes, right? Like, it doesn't matter how flexible Chio is, like, that team was dog shit in the double flex meta, you know?
Exactly.
And like the same goes for like Toronto Defiant when Chorong was on it, you know? It's like, oh, they have the Zen player, and then I remember, like, you know, Skewed and Shu and all that shit, you know? It's like they killed Chorong and Zen, and they're like, this guy's such a fucking bot, you know? Like, there's just like a different tier of play for the flex support players, but there's definitely some value to the flexibility too, you know? Like being able to play a bit of hero roulette and swap around. It just hasn't been
definitely now Owl's over. I get the point that it's like, it's more valuable now.
Yeah, you know, I think like people like you know, Vega in North America, you know, like, they're definitely next up, you know, they're like that. But I think that, like, even back in the day, like, OG was kind of viewed as that kind of player, you know, like OG had like a really, really good BAP for a main support.
But it's useless. It was useless in the league.
Maybe in the league, but if everyone's in the same situation where they only have a flex support and a main support, maybe it does still kind of become its own arms race, right? Like, suddenly
the league is over, you know?
Yeah, the league.
If you are the best,
I reckon it's gonna come back.
But it was
I'm
like
optimistic
Vega
there's a new season.
You've got the best Alaria out of all the main supports. Well, all of a sudden, if every other team only has a flex support and main support, you have a huge over them. Play a double flex and they can't.
But then surely, if one team just decides, all right, we'll take the hit and have a 6-man roster, and then they'll just win in these metas, right? Like, if every other team in Europe has a main support playing flex support, and then a double flex meta rolls about, then the team that just actually gets 2 flex supports for it will just win, surely.
I don't know, you're just trying to justify being a Lucio one trick to the end of the day.
I'll give away my prize money to someone else who can play flex support.
I like that.
Double flex meta. You know, I'm not going to try it. Or I'll just force Lucio. Make it work.
Been down that road before, I think, on Team UK.
Yeah. Make it work.
And then we actually went back to the start of that road and tried one more time. The next one is maybe kind of along the same lines from Suji, saying, what degree do you value counter-picking, counter-comping into a favourable matchup on paper? Or do you think it's more in practice and real comps and heroes you're best at and specialise in that?
It depends what team you're on, because on Glads, we loved a counter comp, right? But on London, you guys loved picking a comp. So it kind of depends what your skill set is. If you've got players who can play everything, then pick counter comps. But if you've got players who are specifically good at 1 or 2 heroes, then just work around that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Agreed.
Yeah. Unless it's like a super hard meta, you know, I think you're always like better off getting the edge by counter swapping over and over again, you know? Like, look at Florida for the final, you know? Like, maybe they'd arguably have like the worst Sigma in the mirror, but, you know, they just went with the hard edge of having someone play hero roulette. Like,
I think Florida's approach is ideal. But say if it was like season 5 playoffs, right, where it's just, this is just for comp, you have to play it everywhere.
Yeah. When there's a comp that is obviously OP, you just have to play it and bite the bullet.
All right. This is actually a follow-on from what we got Haddy to do in the first episode, where he ranks all the coaches in the You've worked with all of us to varying degrees.
Ooh.
I feel like I might be in trouble in this one.
Chris is number 1.
Yes.
Yay!
And then, it's a bit of a dogfight.
We're scrapping out here.
You're scrapping out here.
Hardy put me last, by the way. So
How do you put you last?
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't worked with X as much, just because of the way that Chris sort of feeds all the X feedback through him and claims it as his own.
Benefit of the doubt for X?
Yeah, actually, you have to gamble how much of my genius is X, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like,
you never know.
You could just be the biggest fraud of all time. Just X feeding you everything.
X is the brains behind the operation.
It goes two ways. Either Chris is just stealing from me, or I've successfully ridden his coattails to
no one will ever really know.
Only me and him. We know.
So I'll put Max as number 2 and then X number 3.
Right, that's fair.
You should have ranked me last.
Just so that you can say that you didn't always do nothing on Glads.
You know, there was like 3 weeks there.
There were a few weeks where you coached.
We're hoping to expose Hunter in this podcast, but I think we've only exposed Smash.
Yeah.
Especially when we say the title.
I mean, it's like
I'm gonna get a DM after this. Like, he's gonna be like, "Hey, Astro, what is this?"
Just don't even worry about
it. That's
mate.
The concept of burning bridges, right? Just block him.
They're friends. Like...
Not anymore. Not after you become uncoachable, my friend.
Does anyone feel like we kind of danced around the fact that our team had a head coach? Like how many times did we mention Face in this fucking whole thing about Gladiators?
Powerful head coach.
Yeah, but it's like, isn't this all his fault? Like all of these problems that were being described, isn't this just like all ultimately his fault? And we're just like
structural problems.
It's not even acknowledge it. He was so far in the background that it's like not even blame him. You know, hour-long reviews where there's no fucking consistent theme. Maybe the head coach could synthesize that into a consistent point. And maybe he does the talking. You know, like. People fucking arguing and having conflicting opinions. Maybe tell everyone to shut the fuck up and put them on the same page. You know, like isn't that the whole point of the job? Yeah, it can happen. You know,
but Smash gets the blame for a lot of it.
Yeah, well.
I mean, that's how Face got like fucking 60 years out of a great Overwatch League career by just staying in the background.
He was very passive.
Unhappy.
Yeah,
that's it. He just made his money, moved on. He'll be in the hills of Costa Rica right now. He'll be living the good life.
He's definitely gone up a mountain after this year.
100%.
Yeah, no.
I feel like that was like, at least from what I heard, I feel like that was actually the reason your fucking roster got so fucked was that weren't you like late to loads of like talking to the big boys?
No. So this wasn't Face's fault at all. One thing that people kind of like don't really acknowledge about Gladiators is that like Gladiators, for all of the mega bucks that they have, it's genuinely like the worst org in the entire world for roster construction. Because say you're on Atlanta Reign, right? If you're on Atlanta Reign and you're in playoffs, you've already had the conversation with ownership about what you want to do for the next year, and they're already prepared to give you the money on the day to actually secure the players to make a roster for the following year. With Gladiators is insanely corporate org. Bro, can you just talk like a normal person? The whispering is really just bothering me. Yeah. So on Gladiators, it's an insanely corporate org, like lots of red tape everywhere. So like Face in the playoffs, he already has the vision for what he wants to do with the roster going into the next year. He's thought about who he wants, what he wants to change, like who's going to be coming out of contract, everything, right? And then he just hits the fucking corporate brick wall. It's like, oh, we can't offer anyone because we're not going to give you a budget until the middle of December or like the middle of November or whatever it was, So they won't even give Face a number for how much money he potentially has to spend until it's way after everyone has already made offers, talked to players, done their signings and stuff like that. So Face gets put in this really awkward position where he basically needs to cock tease a bunch of players and be like, yeah, we're interested in you. We can't make you an offer right now, but we're kind of interested in you. So like by the time Face can actually show up in someone's and say, hey, here's a contract worth this amount of money, everyone has already signed. Everyone has already agreed to different teams. We had like 3 different DPS players pre-Yaki verbally agree to join the Gladiators, and they all just flaked because by the time we had an offer on the table, they were gone. By the time we had a concrete number and a contract, they were already signed somewhere else. all of our negotiation in the preseason just gets completely fucked by the fact that Gladiators is the most useless org in the world for the offseason, because they just won't give you a budget until it's already too late. Atlanta had already pulled the trigger on Lip, on Stalker, on the fucking Fuel backline, and we still hadn't signed a single player. You know, by the time we were making a signing, Lastro was the only person available. You know, that's the kind of thing we're dealing with. Like, it's not that FaZe totally fucked roster construction. It's that FaZe got totally fucked on roster construction and then doesn't want to fuck the org publicly because he desperately wants to keep a job, you know?
Yeah. He played
jokes on him. Jokes on him.
I remember at some point in the offseason, he messaged me. He was like, "We've got Izayaki. Send him a message, say hi, welcome to the team." I messaged Izayaki. I was like, "Hi, welcome to the team." Turns out he just wasn't fucking on the team. Like,
I mean, I don't know.
Me as well.
I don't know.
He wasn't on your team.
No, because this is another thing where it's like FaZe and Smash would communicate with the Korean players that they were trying to sign, and Smash would be like, "Oh yeah, this guy's in," and then like you would message the guy, and it's like, "Huh? What's going on here?"
Izayaki replied, and he was just like, "What?"
Because I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, well, in the preseason, we had Decay, we had Izayaki, we had Heesang. What the fuck? We didn't have any of these people. Like,
yeah.
What roster you put together?
I remember at some point we apparently had Hambin and
yeah, you know, a couple of days we might have had Hambin and Smurf there. You know.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good
team. We had none of these players. Who we actually had was Dante and Lastro.
Yeah.
Babble in the back pocket, you know.
Just in case.
Just in case 5 other fan supports say no.
Ah, the Bab top.
Loved the Bab top.
Yeah. Oh well.
I think for comparison,
I do think like just in the defensive face, you know, like even if he, you know, maybe made some questionable moves with the people we like, you know, wound up going with, at the end of the day, like Gladiators genuinely puts that guy in an impossible position. Like you know how Deepay like raged and quit the team. Like it's over this exact same shit where it's like Deepay wanted to sign a roster, he wanted to pull the trigger on a bunch of players, and they just won't like he's just getting perma dono walled by management, you know? He can't fucking get money to sign players. Everyone else is signing players all around him. He's surrounded by the preseason, off-season, like the excitement of people making deals and signing players, and you're just watching it all slip through your fingers in real time because corporate can't get off their fucking asses and give you money, you know? Like they're 6 years into the Overwatch League and 6 years into constructing rosters at the exact same time every year, and they can't have the budget ready for you then because of corporate red tape. So it's like, really, it's an org side thing that fucks Gladiators more than anything else with the construction.
I think just for comparison quickly, like in London, like especially season 5 to season 6, our roster was essentially locked in almost immediately. Like we figured out who we wanted quickly, and it was all just agreed. The only delay was like, because the All Wizard themselves had a delay. Similarly with like that All-Star Atlanta roster, it was at Season 5 playoffs, I was hearing the rumours like these players not going to be Atlanta. Like all the other teams are like quite aggressive and quite far ahead, so if you're not on that same page, you do left behind massive.
Yeah. It was really like, it was actual like crazy whiplash going from Atlanta to Glads like in the 21 to 22 off season, where it was like on Atlanta, I was involved in the roster construction for the 22 roster, not like super hands-on, but you know, I was there for the whole process, like seeing the timing of how everyone was getting picked up, how long everything took going into 22, and then I joined Gladiators at the last minute, and Gladiators still doesn't have their roster. You know, like everything on Atlanta is set in stone, and I joined Glads, and Glads just doesn't have their shit together at all still because they're so far behind. Whereas Atlanta's really quick to the punch. It's just, you know, they seem to consistently make some sort of like crucial error every time. Like,
yeah.
Right. Last one then, Astro, is GOAT of each role.
Of each role. So main support, you got to have League gone. No, you can't pick anyone else. Who else would you put for main support?
Who Gator put Moth. Gator put Moth.
Chio's in the contendings.
Chio's not the greatest of all time, dude. He came 8th in the Overwatch League this year, and he's had one good year.
Yeah.
So Chio's not greatest of all time. I think League. No, it's
got to be League Gun, yeah.
Because he's had like
in the league for so long, and he's been good the whole time. You know, like
he was not good last year, and he was not good this year. But you know,
he did his job.
He felt pretty good against us, to be fair.
Yeah.
yeah.
He did die a lot, but he did a lot before he died.
Yeah, no, I see the case for him, and as much as I like hate the way Moth plays, I really do see the case for Moth too.
I just think he did his job. He was like Admiral, you know. If London kept playing and
no, but he wasn't
London was
like
winning,
Admiral because he never died. Was the difference,
true.
you know? Like he was not like Admiral. He was a 2-time
He
champion,
didn't
on
never
2 different
die.
heroes, and he always like he was
He did
the
his
job
job.
guy, you know?
Yeah.
He was like Lee Jae-gon. Obviously, there's more skill there. People like Violet the reroll cheer. There's way more skill there. But you know, Moth, like for 2 years straight, that guy clocked into his 9 to 5, and he just got employed. He got average employee every single month. You know, like truly, he never underperformed on his KPIs.
Yeah,
He was just bang on in the middle, like just good enough.
Then flex support, probably Violet. Yeah. Yes. Tank, Smurf. And then,
Reasonable.
is it even worth splitting? Like, do I just pick 2 DPS?
Yeah, like
Out
I
of
guess make a
anyone.
roster. Yeah.
Fuck it.
Kev. And then gotta pick some Korean, surely. Prophet.
Lip, bro. Lip.
Oh, Lip. Yeah. Maybe Prophet and Lip.
Prophet and Lip.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm actually a Prophet hater. Like in all these
Fuck
discussions.
that guy, dude.
But he's
Mainly
been around
'cause
for
he's
so
Korean.
long.
He's been mid for so
He's
long.
been around
too, you know?
for so long.
He's just like an old mid man, and everyone's like,
He's-
"Oh, look at
he's
him,
a bit
dude!
of an old
He's
man.
not throwing
He was
like
good in
Fleder is,
season
so he
1.
must be good."
It was great in season 1. I don't know. Maybe Lip and Kev.
I like that.
Yeah, I could see that DPS lineup winning a couple of things.
You think
Yeah.
Kev's more goated than Proper?
Yeah.
At least Kev won some tournaments in Overwatch
Proper-
League, you know?
Proper was only proper for 1 year, you
1
know?
year wonder.
Yeah, Proper
this
Proper
year.
was actually the one-hit wonder.
Was a pretty good one though, to be.
It was alright, but he
Yeah.
still didn't win a single tournament, so you know, eat shit, kid.
Could have been a lot better.
All right, are we quiz ready, Quizmaster?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I've just tried to do the maths on how to do percentages, but I think I've done it right. So I have the tiebreaker locked in too. All right, so here's what I was thinking in the quiz. Some quizzes have integrity, some have consistency, some have the right answers. Our quiz actually doesn't have any of those things. What I thought when we're doing this week's quiz, what I might do is Daniel's had a rough year. Lost a lot on Gladiators, lost a lot on Team UK.
Great.
Almost lost
Flash
Flash.
Up.
Whoa, we scraped our way out though. We made it.
That would have actually
So-
made it possibly the worst year if you'd sealed for Flash Op's fumble.
Yeah, that would have been truly impressive.
So I thought, let's do a quiz in which there's no way Astro doesn't win. So what we're gonna do?
Thank
The
you,
Astros
Chris.
career highlights or something.
Giving me a win for the year.
We're gonna name Overwatch League players that Astro has played with across 5 seasons. So 2 seasons of Gladiators, 2 seasons of Fusion, 1 season of Atlanta, even though we only played 1 game. But you're only allowed to use a player from a nationality once. So instead of going through the list of like 70 of them, if someone names a Korean player, then you can't name any more Korean players. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 nationalities he's played with, I think.
What?
Only in Overwatch.
And if
League,
Astro
right?
doesn't, if in Overwatch League, if Astro doesn't win, then the guy's actually just totally fraudulent. So no pressure.
I like this.
Fuck.
We'll even go with Astro first. So what you've got to do is you've got to tell me a player name, you've got to tell me their nationality, and then if it is, then that nationality is clocked off. Everyone
Okay.
understand the rules
Korean.
of the game. So that's correct. So obviously, no one's allowed to say Korean players anymore. Make sense?
Yep. Who's next? Is
Okay.
it Mirax?
Max.
Enlea? Russian?
Oh, nice
Oh,
one.
rare
Yeah, maybe
one.
use it too early, but that's a solid one.
Yeah, I was
okay.
gonna use that one.
You're gonna win the fucking quiz, mate. They're your teammates.
I might not.
Israeli
Yeah.
might have been a rare one.
Chris, are you going or are you the master?
No,
He's the
I'm the
quiz
quiz
master.
master. I'm the master.
To verify whether our answers are right or wrong. He gets it right like 9 out of 10 times.
Poco. Korean.
Yeah.
Not Korean. What the
That's
fuck?
right.
French.
He's bombing out of the quiz.
He's fucking choking. He's choking right now.
Fuck.
I think
Here's the
I think
source
it's
of
time for some
Gladiators
box
failures right
press.
here.
Calm yourself. Bring it. Come on, you got this. I'll
I
allow
need
it.
the breathing
because you're feeling
exercises right
generous.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, Gator, American.
Yep.
I'm struggling. I
Surely
can't
don't
get all
fumble
13.
this.
I'm writing them down, and I'm not even close to 13.
Don't fumble it this early.
I mean, this is an unbelievable fumble if you're not getting at least like one more.
Thanks for adding the pressure. Lights are so bright.
Oh, the lights were too bright before Xavier.
Actually, just
Yeah, you're fucking chalked, mate.
wait. Oh, Kev, Swedish. Of course.
Oh, yeah, easy.
I actually didn't have that one.
Oh, forgettable
Yes.
Kev.
This guy's
You
fucking
just
cooked.
put him in your greatest of all time roster.
I forgot
Who's
it was
Kev?
Swedish. Cal Canadian.
Yeah. Okay, well, at least got through this year's roster.
Yes!
It was a while, but we've got
Alright,
through
so-
that.
We saw a month and a half.
I've got no fucking clue where the cunt is from, but Sharp, Sharp, somewhere in like,
Was I ever on
somewhere
a
in
team
North Europe.
with Sharp?
Wouldn't you want to
I
rhino
don't
with
think
him?
he
or-
was.
We
don't
weren't
think
on the
he
same
made-
time.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think Sharp, but I think even if Sharp was, I
Is he
think
Swedish?
he's Swedish.
Ah,
So I think
Christ.
you're,
What is it with Sweden and these fucking DPS players, man?
yeah, you're double
Okay,
fucked.
well I'm skipped then because I don't get to
Yeah.
answer twice.
Is it X then?
Wait, yeah.
Yeah, X.
Kai English. Person, yeah.
Yeah.
Really nailing this
Fun-
last roster now.
Fun fact: he also played with 2 more British players.
In Overwatch League.
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah. Fucking hell, boys.
Boombox.
Boombox and Chipser.
Oh,
God.
Chipser, yeah. Fuck, I forgot about
Yeah.
Chipser. I got Boombox, but Chips. Okay,
Yeah.
Shockwave, Denmark.
Yeah. Also, I would have accepted the Fran too.
I
'cause he was
wasn't on the
that
roster at the same time as him.
The Fran
He
left
was
partway
young
through
before
the
I
season,
got there.
right?
Ah, well then, good news he's Danish because the quiz still lives on.
Yeah, I got
any,
Alright.
what?
I got
I've got
nothing at this
fr-
point.
I think 3 more to go.
I've got 2 more that I can get.
He's actually going to win his quiz. He's
Well, I'm
fucking
good
done
for
it.
I'm good for
Do
zero,
it.
so like you're gonna have to move on.
Pass.
X, have you got any more?
It'll be someone on Philadelphia Future. It's not Steady QO, Covered Boom. Who else was on
Covered
that roster?
Poco.
Poco. That may be it for. I guess Shockwave was on it as well, right? So we covered the other.
He just did that.
That's all the Philly players. It's from this Atlanta Reign roster, isn't it? Because that Atlanta Reign
Oh,
roster
I
was
reckon
massive.
it's
wasn't it?
Glad's players. Like it's ones that were
There's
right in
one
front of me all
Glad's-
along.
Yeah, there's one Glad's guy you missed.
I got it. It's Patty, right? And he's from Thailand.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go.
Now we're into the meat and potatoes. So we've
Well,
got
I know the last 2.
Oh, then he's laughing. Go
Guess
on, then,
one.
pick one.
Do I just say both of them, or
No, say
Can't you get a tie here?
I'll go-
I can get. I'm
X
playing for
hasn't
the
missed
tie.
one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
only
can
say
try.
one.
I have no idea what the
Massa,
answer.
Finland.
Okay, yeah.
I have
So
no
then
idea.
I have
It's technically
one
Hunter's
left.
go.
Oh,
he could steal
no,
it.
we'll just move on to your pass. You got that. You're good for that.
Am I?
Yeah, you're good for it. What?
Ask Kelix if he knows nationalities of players Astro's played with.
You should ask Paddy.
I cannot.
Have 2 conversations at once. I'm really struggling. I feel like it probably is someone on this Atlanta roster now, because that was a big roster.
I liked that, Chris.
Yeah, I tried.
You gave it your all.
Yeah, I'm no closer to an answer.
I don't even know.
Germany.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kodak.
oh,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't have got that.
It's unwinnable.
Yeah. So I
I've
think
done
that's
it.
all.
He's done it.
I've got a victory.
First win of the
The
year.
best moment of Daniel's
Let's
year
go.
right now.
Ending on a high.
Oh, what a great year. Turned it all around right there. There's still time for me to win a tournament, If we win Flash Ops, then I can have a victory this year.
You're not beating
This
Team
is the
Sauna,
start of your
mate.
comeback right now. We are, mate. We're beating Team Sauna. Don't worry about it.
Estola is just gonna slap it on the table and
Hattie's gonna have his way with him.
For sure.
Yeah, look at him just roaming.
Yeah, look at that guy. That guy's winning for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Then a client of a week.
Client of the week.
A Kai from Twisted Minds.
What did he
Hi
do?
from Twisted Minds. Let's get the story up.
Yeah, I mean, like, we might have to like obscure the credit card numbers or something. And
Wait, where did you DMs you sent it?
You posted.
I think I put it in the FunnyAstro channel. Yeah. I guess you can just show that.
I can
surely.
blur it out.
Nah, I would. Yeah, give it a little blur, you know. But I was trying to. Yeah. So here in Saudi Arabia, to use the local food delivery service, you need a Saudi phone number. So I've used my. You've done a good job of blurring that in post. So yeah, I trust this. Yeah. Basically, so basically, you need a Saudi phone number. So I'm using my manager's hunger station account to order food, and I asked this guy, what card should I use? Because he's supposed to buy us food for the day. And I've asked, which card is right? And he just replies, I have cards. I have 5 cards. Like, he's just fucking going band for band with me immediately, showing me how many cards he's got. I've sent him a screenshot of how many cards he's got on the account because I don't know which one to select. And he just tells me, I've got 5, you know? So my nomination for Client of the Week definitely goes to Akai because he knows how to keep me guessing when it comes to essential goods and services required for day-to-day life. Are there any other clients that have,
Hattie could be the client of the week.
Yes, a separate situation is, after all of that. That was a different occasion. That was when we were at the Saudi E-Leagues and he's supposed to buy us food. He used his Hunger Station account to buy us food and he obviously didn't change the billing information from mine, which I repeatedly reminded him, please don't use my credit card when you buy food. But, there's... He's got 6 cards.
Like Thanos, with his stuff.
Yeah, client of the week to Akai. Hattie's no good with time zones though, so he's getting like an honourable mention for missing every scrim that he's ever scheduled.
Missing every scrim, sleeping through our match as well.
He's getting client of the week.
It's like client of the month if you're going back that far.
We should actually, right? We should start doing clients of the month and then a client of the year.
Client of the year.
Client of the year. That's it.
Yeah, we'll have to do it at our 50th episode or whatever it'll end up being. I'm sure we'll make it that far.
Oh, absolutely.
So last week we had a new front runner who's put quite a gap between himself and the competition before Gator. Then we have Danny. Hattie's still sitting in a respectful bronze place finish right now. Where are we putting young Daniel in all of this?
I actually think the Gator episode is basically untouchable. Like that's actually that's going to be the one that made us famous. Like we're literally never.
You can't top that
one.
It's got over 100 comments right now.
Yeah, so I'm happy to go with Astro second.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think Danny and Daniel are like so closely tied that it's actually difficult to put one above the other. But just because like fuck you, Chris, and fuck you, Daniel, especially, I'm gonna put Danny above Daniel.
Is Max just muted for me?
No, I heard it.
I can hear him.
Okay, so Daniel's seen me talking to put me on mute. It's not a VOD view over Discord, mate. Like...
Muted.
Funny because he literally said "fuck you, Daniel," and I'm not even indicating it. Actually,
his mic's completely cut out for me.
Yeah. So Daniel third place for me. You're behind Danny even, which is just pathetic.
Give me the worst
on
Daniel.
par for
That's
you.
fucked up. That is.
You're a fucking loser, dude. Like,
I'll never work with you
X is a tiebreaker.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, I say second.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm putting Astro above. Astro into second.
I hate you guys. I hate you guys.
You're fake as fuck, Max. I always do
Burn that bridge. Burn it.
I'm blocking you on Discord as we speak.
I'm sending Smash the episode link.
I've got to pre-block him before he messages me about this one.
The pre-block.
He's going to go to message me and be like, oh, it doesn't work.
All right, then. All right. I think we're all done. Another episode in the bag. Play the lip clip. Exit.
Happy with that.
What's the lip clip?
It's
Uh,
lip
never
not
seen
touching
it?
the point in playoffs.
Ah.